Chapter 1542. Little Lucky said it with certainty, as if he was certain that Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior would not kill him. Sima Yue understood that it definitely had a lot to do with that woman from before. Little Lucky said it like that, but she could not put her heart at ease. What if this Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior felt that she had done something to his son, and became enraged and attacked her? Mother, why did the contracted beasts by your side change so much? Little Lucky did not know Sima Yue's worries. Seeing that she did not say anything, he assumed that she had agreed. Seeing the spirit beasts running over from behind, he asked, "Oh, then do you remember which ones you had in the past?" Sima Yue tried to get information from him. Little Lucky pointed at Thousand Resonance and said, "How did this little fox turn into 8 tails? Where's the other tail?" Sima Yue was shocked. Thousand Resonance was in his human form. Normal spirit beasts would not be able to tell that he was a 9-tailed fox, or a 9-tailed fox that was missing a tail. However, Little Lucky knew it the first time he saw him. Since Little Lucky said it like that, it meant that there was a real 9-tailed spirit fox by that woman's side. Are there any more? Little Lucky crawled onto Sima Yue's palm and looked at the spirit beasts. Then he pointed at Little Roar and said, "Why is this guy getting weaker and weaker? Was he very strong in the past?" "That's right." Little Lucky nodded. He even fought with me for food back then." Sima Yue pursed her lips and looked at Little Roar. Could it be that his clan produced creatures like him? "Are there any more?" she asked again. Little Lucky furrowed his brows and said, "Mother, do you have any other spirit beasts?" I did not see that big bird, but I can smell his aura. Also, where are the other spirit beasts?" Little Lucky said. Sima Yue's heart trembled. She and Wu Lingyu looked at each other and understood each other's expressions. All the contracted beasts were here. Only Crimson Flame was not. Since Little Lucky was talking about the big bird, it was naturally him. They had the same appearance, the same aura, and the same contracted beast. Sima Yue felt a chill down her spine no matter how she thought about it. Wu Lingyu held her hand and said, "You are you and she is she." "Yes." Sima Yue did not want to think too much. Anyway, no matter how similar the person was, it was not her. But what should I do with this little guy? When Xiaoxi heard Sima Yue say this, he immediately looked at her with teary eyes. He looked as if he would cry if she sent him away. Wu Lingyu looked at Little Lucky and thought for a while before saying, "If he wants to stay, then let him stay. That way, we can take precautions in the future." Sima Yue understood what Wu Lingyu meant. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior was clearly the leader of those ancient spirit beasts. Those spirit beasts that had just been born all listened to him. If the little fellow liked her, then Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior would treat her better. At least, she would not have to worry that he would kill her. But we have to let him know about this. She did not think that Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior would not look for his child after he came out. If she did not tell him now, he would only know when they met in the future. "I will arrange this," Wu Lingyu said. "Okay." Sima Yue smiled. With him around, she did not have to worry about anything. That was great. Because of this, Sima Yue had no choice but to push back the matter of taming the spirit beasts. If that fellow came while she was taming the spirit beasts, who knew what would happen? Just as they had guessed, Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior had been looking for his son recently. It was not only him. All the ancient spirit beasts that had been born were looking for Little Lucky. However, there was no news at all. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior had a bad temper to begin with. Now that he could not find his only child, he was extremely angry and became even more irritable. Today, he was planning to leave the 32nd district to look for Little Lucky when he suddenly felt a strange movement in the sky. It was not someone he was familiar with. Naturally, it was not one of his people who had returned. The 32nd district's environment was special. Those who could come here were definitely experts. However, he did not have any reaction. Very quickly, Wu Lingyu came out of the space and looked at Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior. The two of them looked at each other. At this time, Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior was no longer in the form of a spirit beast. Although he had transformed into a human, his facial features were similar to his beast form. The evil aura around him did not diminish. "I remember you. You are the man beside her. What are you doing here? Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior looked at Wu Lingyu. He did not expect that the person beside her that day would be so powerful. I came to tell you something. Wu Lingyu was not affected by Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior's aura. What is it? Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior did not think that a man he did not know would come to find him to say anything good. The ancient spirit beasts had just been born, and there were not many of them. If the human race joined forces, it would be difficult for them to deal with them. You don't have to be so guarded against me, Wu Lingyu said. I don't have any thoughts about you. Then what are you doing here? I came to tell you about your son's whereabouts. Wu Lingyu said. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior's pupil shrank. Where is little Lucky? We accidentally opened it from the ore. After knowing that it was your child, we wanted to send it back to you. However, it did not agree. Wu Lingyu thought about that little guy surrounding Yue and calling her mother. He gritted his teeth in hatred. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior immediately guessed. It's with her? Yes, I came to tell you that you had better take it away yourself. Don't pester my child's mother. Of course, he did not say the last sentence. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior knew that little Lucky was by Sima Yoyue's side, so he naturally understood why it did not want to leave. However, how could he let go of a child that he had not seen for millions of years? He had to bring it back. Sima Yue was not the same as before. If she did not treat little Lucky well. Where is she? Come with me. Sima Yue was in her own courtyard. She was in a good mood today. Sitting in the courtyard, she played with little Lucky while checking on Mu Si's cultivation. It was not that she wanted to take this little guy out to show off, but it did not want to leave her at all. The moment she left, it turned the spirit pagoda upside down. Because Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior was suppressing it, and the little guy was small, she did not know what to do with it. In order to not destroy the spirit pagoda, she could only keep it by her side. When she asked about Mu Si's situation, she was still playing with the little guy. She let it grab her hair and play a game of swinging. The little guy suddenly let go and almost fell. She subconsciously reached out to catch it and then hugged it in her arms, saying, "Be careful." The little guy giggled in her arms, making Sima Yue feel helpless. It was clearly doing this on purpose. However, even if she knew, when this happened a few more times, she still reached out to catch it. Feeling the strange movement in the air, she let Mu Si go down, and then looked at the sky vigilantly. Chapter 1543. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior stayed in the space for a while. Wu Lingyu said that Xiaoxi was unwilling to leave Sima Yue. She also knew why Xiaoxi was unwilling to leave, so she wanted to see how Sima Yue would treat Xiaoxi. When he heard little Lucky's laughter and saw how happy it was playing with Sima Yue, he thought of how sad it was when that person left. He had mixed feelings. Fortunately, Sima Yue was just like that person. She treated little Lucky very well. She liked little Lucky from the bottom of her heart, and not just for show. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gone to pick little Lucky up so many times. This little guy was not very old, but he was quite scheming. He was actually playing such games with him. Sima Yue did not know that he was here, but it must have sensed his presence. Did it not do that to let him know how good Sima Yue was, so that he would not object to it following her? Humph, such a mischievous brat. At this moment, little Lucky's voice was a little louder than when he first came out. He was no longer as meek as before, and his intelligence was also growing by the day. Well, at least it was clear that the woman in front of him was not his mother. However, it still liked her very much. Sima Yue hugged little Lucky and looked at the two people in the air. If not for the fact that she was not familiar with Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior, she would have rolled her eyes at them. Daddy. When the little guy saw Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior, he excitedly ran over. Sima Yue only saw a flash of light in front of her eyes, before the little fellow climbed onto its father's shoulder. Why are you hiding up there? Seeing that Wu Lingyu was not acting strangely, she was no longer afraid of Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior wants to see how his son is doing here, Wu Lingyu said. Aren't they going to be taken away? What's there to see? Sima Yue paused after saying this. She suddenly thought that if she did not live a good life, her opponent might kill her to vent his anger. However, just as he finished speaking, little Lucky, who had been hanging on to Supreme Fifth Spirit Master's body, flashed and returned to her embrace. He grabbed her hair and said emotionally, "You said that you wouldn't abandon me if I didn't call you mother. You can't go back on your word." Sima Yue had been with the little fellow for so many days, so she had developed some feelings for it. Seeing its aggrieved look, she reached out to hug it and stroked its head, saying, "But your father came to find you. He's here to take you back. It's too dangerous here." If people knew that she had an ancient spiritual beast by her side, and that it was Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior's child, she would probably be targeted by many people. No, I want to be with you." The little guy was so anxious that his tears fell again. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior had not spoken since he arrived. He had only been observing Sima Yue. Seeing this scene, it was as if he had seen the past. Back then, the little fellow had also pulled her hair like this, telling her not to leave. Unfortunately, she still left and never came back. Sima Yue was in a dilemma. Although she liked the little fella, she did not want to keep it by her side. It was too eye-catching and too dangerous. Moreover, with such a father, if something happened he would blame her. That anger was not something she could bear. Most importantly, she had heard from Wu Lingyu that Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior did not leave after coming out. Instead, he was looking for Little Lucky. Because he had just come out, if he wanted to fight against humans, naturally the more ancient spiritual beasts he had, the better. Since he was willing to delay his plans and journey, it meant that this was extremely important to him. She did not think that he would leave such an important person in the care of a human he did not know. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior was thinking about something. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu did not speak either. The atmosphere in the courtyard was a little strange. Just as Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior was about to take the little fellow away, it suddenly turned its head and said sadly, "Father, I want mother." Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior saw its pitiful look and sighed. "If you want to stay, then stay." When he said this, Little Lucky happily grabbed onto Sima Yue's hair and swung it around. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu were speechless. "Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior, this isn't appropriate, right?" Sima Yue said, "It's too dangerous here. Our family's strength is not high. If something happens, we won't be able to protect Little Lucky." "I don't need you to protect it. I know you don't have that kind of strength." Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior's words were very direct. He almost said the second half of his sentence. Sima Yue was being looked down upon, but she could not refute it. Who asked her strength to be too low? She turned her gaze towards Wu Lingyu. He did not like Little Lucky being by its side, so he should say something now, right? However, she didn't know what Wu Lingyu said to Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior, but he didn't speak up for her. Instead, he patted her head and said, "Little Lucky's strength is not bad. With him around, you'll be safer in the future." Sima Yue pursed her lips. Something was wrong, wasn't it? "Elder sister, don't be afraid. I will protect you." Little Lucky patted its chest and promised. It was no longer anxious. At this moment, its head turned around again. It knew that Sima Yue did not like it calling her mother, so it called her elder sister instead. The 2 times before were also because it was too anxious. Sima Yue looked at Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior's expression, and knew that this matter was settled. Her strength was too low. If she was strong, why would she need to be afraid of Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior? "I still have things to do. I won't delay you and your father from catching up." After she finished speaking, she stuffed Little Lucky into Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior's arms and turned to leave. She could not persuade him. She also knew that he wanted her to take care of Little Lucky, so her courage grew. The most important thing was that Wu Lingyu was here, so she could throw a tantrum. She thought that Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior would be unhappy, but she did not expect that he was not unhappy at all. Instead, he had a look of nostalgia. "Father, she is mother, right?" Little Lucky clung to Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior's body and said softly. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior was startled. He then picked up the little fellow who was clinging to his body and said word by word, "Auntie Yuyu is already dead. She is not Auntie Yuyu." Wah! Little Lucky immediately burst into tears. He cried very hard, unlike before when he was in front of Sima Yue. Sima Yue had just walked into the house when she heard little Lucky's cries. This was the first time she had heard little Lucky cry so sadly. She could not harden her heart and turn back, just in time to see Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior throw little Lucky away. Little Lucky. Even though she knew that little Lucky was very powerful, she still subconsciously used teleportation to catch little Lucky in the air. Mother. Woo, father said that mother is already dead. Little Lucky smelled a familiar scent and cried even harder. Don't cry. Let's go back to the house. Sima Yue glared at Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior and carried little Lucky back to the house. Was there a father like this? The moment he came, he made the child cry and even threw him out. When Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior saw little Lucky like this, he sighed in his heart. His face was even darker than before. Chapter 1544. Although Sima Yue was playing with little Lucky in the house, she was still paying attention to what was happening outside. With such a powerful person in their house, Sima Zhiyuan would definitely bring people over to take a look. Old ancestor Sima Qing must have been alerted as well. However, after Sima Zhiyuan came to the courtyard, he said a few words before leaving with Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior and Wu Lingyu. As for what he said after that, she did not know. After a long time, Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior and Wu Lingyu returned. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior grabbed little Lucky and left. Sima Yue was stunned for a moment before she blinked and looked at Wu Lingyu, asking, "He left with little Lucky? Didn't he say that he would leave him with her?" She did not know if little Lucky would cry after leaving. "Don't worry, he just took little Lucky to teach him. He'll be back in a while." Wu Lingyu pinched her face. He wanted to send him away before, but now he could not bear to. Women were really fickle. When Sima Yue heard that it was really a while, she went back to busy herself with her own things. 2 days later, Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior sent little Lucky back. When little Lucky saw Sima Yue, he immediately ran over and clung onto her tightly, refusing to let go. "You don't have to worry about your safety." Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior looked at her and said this after a long time. Sima Yue understood what he meant. She guessed that he was going to send people over to protect little Lucky. "Keep it a secret, I don't want others to know," Sima Yue urged. Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior did not have any objections. If too many people knew, it would mean that little Lucky would be in greater danger. Actually, he had already told Sima Zhiyuan that he would send some powerful spirit beasts over. With them around, the Sima family would be indirectly protected. However, unless it was a huge matter or little Lucky was involved, those people would only take action. After that, Sima Yue asked for a way to contact him. Her motive was simple. If little Lucky was in trouble in the future, she would at least be able to contact him. "You don't have to worry about that." After saying that, he opened a spatial tunnel and left without any hesitation. Sima Yue pursed her lips. This guy left so casually, he didn't even look at her son. "Let's go and tame those ancient spiritual beasts," Wu Lingyu said as he walked over. Sima Yue nodded. She could tell that Wu Lingyu was pressed for time as well. Xiaoxi had come out of the spirit pagoda in the first place, so he didn't hide the fact that he had gone inside. Afterwards, Sima Yue realized how wise it was to keep Xiaoxi. Sima Yue released another spirit beast for Wu Lingyu to tame. After Little Seven and the others learned it, they took over the job of opening the stone. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu tamed them together. With Sima Yue's current strength, taming ancient spiritual beasts was already quite difficult. If she met another powerful spirit beast, she wouldn't be able to handle it. Once, when she was about to fail, Xiaoxi, who had been hanging on her body, roared twice at the spirit beast. That spirit beast immediately gave up and was successfully tamed by her. Once or twice, Sima Yue treated it as a coincidence. However, after a few times, Sima Yue understood that these spirit beasts were all afraid of Xiaoxi, even if it was just a very, very small fellow. After that, Sima Yue asked Xiaoxi to help her by roaring twice every time before taming them. Those spirit beasts were already half dead before they were sent to Sima Yue. Now that Xiaoxi was suppressing them, Sima Yue's taming went very smoothly every time. Furthermore, she saved half the time and almost caught up to Wu Lingyu's speed. The two of them tamed a spirit beast every 2 days. then rested for a day before taming them again. These days were a bit boring, but they were in a hurry, so the two of them didn't say anything. After spending more than 4 years in the spirit pagoda, less than half a year in the outside world, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu had already tamed 3,000 ancient spiritual beasts. There were still many spirit beasts in the spirit pagoda that hadn't been tamed, but Sima Yue felt that there was no need to rush. Furthermore, Wu Lingyu was about to leave, so she could slowly tame them when she had the time. After all these years of taming, her strength had increased by a lot. She advanced the moment she went out. This speed shocked the Sima family. However, those beast tamers knew what was going on. Their young miss must have obtained her strength from taming spirit beasts. After such a long time, they had already started taming ancient spiritual beasts. Naturally, they understood how powerful the imperial beast art was. When they thought about how Sima Yue had actually given such a powerful spiritual technique to her family, they were filled with admiration for her. When they thought about how Sima Yue advanced again so quickly, they were filled with anticipation for their own future. The higher their cultivation, the longer their lifespan. With this, they wouldn't have to worry about their lifespan. The lightning tribulation this time was just a formality. Sima Yue returned unscathed. When she returned, she saw Wu Lingyu waiting for her in the courtyard. "You're leaving?" When she saw his eyes, she understood what he wanted to say. "Yes. This time, I might take a long time before coming back." Wu Lingyu said reluctantly. "Get someone to send me news from time to time." Sima Yue walked over and leaned into his embrace. Wu Lingyu hugged her and kissed her forehead. "This time, when I go back, I will get the godly medicine." Sima Yue believed in his ability, but she was still worried about his safety. "Be careful. Don't worry. Remember, when I'm not around, don't get close to other men, okay? Your family's brats are not allowed to enter the courtyard." "Got it." The two of them were lovey-dovey for a while. When they felt a change in space, Wu Lingyu had no choice but to let her go and leave. Sima Yue saw the space tunnel close and felt a little disappointed. After this farewell, she didn't know when she would be able to see him again. After feeling sad for a while, she shook her head and kept her emotions in check. She went to look for Sima Jiyuan. Siyu and the Si family left. Of course, it was only after Sima Yue took the time to cook for her for a month. Sima Jiyuan and Sima Hishun had just returned from the beast taming grounds when they heard the guards say that Sima Yue was here. "Little Miss is here? Let her in quickly," Sima Jiyuan ordered. Then he turned to Sima Hishun and said, "This girl is finally out. This girl won't come over for no reason. Now that she's here, it must be something good." Sima Hishun's face was full of smiles when he talked about Sima Yue. Sima Yue saw the two of them and bowed. Then she went straight to the point and said, "Great-grandfather, great-uncle, Lingyu and I have tamed some spirit beasts during these few months of closed-door cultivation. We can choose some people to form contracts with. Some of them are not bad. We can let Xi and Shu and the others form contracts with them." "Really? This matter has to be kept a secret. Let's do it at the back of the mountain. After forming a contract, many people might advance in rank. If 1 or 2 people advanced in rank, it wouldn't be a big deal. But if a large number of people advanced in rank, it would definitely attract attention if outsiders knew about it." Chapter 1545. The spirit beast that Sima Yue had tamed previously, Sima Jiyuan, and the others had not allowed anyone to form a contract with it. The spirit beast that the beast tamer masters had tamed later was also locked up in the beast taming grounds, and had not allowed anyone to form a contract with it. Therefore, although they had heard from her that contracts could allow one to advance in rank, they had never seen it with their own eyes. However, when she made this request, they also felt that it was better to be careful. It was better for the Sima family not to attract attention. "How many spirit beasts do you have now?" 300. Sima Yue thought for a while and said a safer number. However, even with that being the case, the two of them were still scared witless. 300 in 5 months. That would be 60 in a month. "Lingyu and I tamed it together. He's much faster than me," Sima Yue said. "As for how much faster, you can guess for yourselves." I'll go and instruct them to pick some people to go to the back of the mountain, Sima Jiyuan said. I'll head over first. Sima Yue was not unfamiliar with the back of the mountain. The first time she received the inheritance, she was struck by lightning. She came to a hilltop where she could see the Sima family's courtyard. What are you thinking about? Sima Qing appeared beside her and asked when he saw her in a daze. I'm thinking about how glorious the Sima family was back then. Sima Yue stood up and bowed to Sima Qing. We can't see or imagine the glory of the past. However, we can foresee the glory in the future. Sima Qing looked at her with a smile. Sima Yue naturally understood what he meant. A taming beast art, a complete fusion spiritual technique, thousands of ancient spirit beasts, and the first half of the soul refining art that Sima Yue had given him, which could increase a spirit master's mental strength. If all of this was not enough to make the Sima family rise, then all of the younger generations would have to commit suicide as an apology. Ancestor, what are you doing here instead of cultivating in seclusion? Let's take a look at the beginning of our rise. Isn't it just a contract? I didn't have to trouble you personally. It means a lot. Sima Yue pursed her lips. This was indeed a symbol of the rise of the Sima family. Yes, it was significant. She had already released the contracted beasts she had prepared. At this moment, the mountain stream was filled with black spirit beasts. When Sima Jiyuan brought his family's disciples over and saw those spirit beasts, they were all stunned. Knowing about it was one thing, but seeing it was a completely different feeling. Yue, are these all ancient spiritual beasts? Sima Qiqi was familiar with Sima Yue. Seeing that she was here, she ran over and asked. Yes. Go and choose one you like, Sima Yue said with a smile. All right. No one was unhappy with Sima Yue's words. These were all brought back by Sima Yue, and everyone was very grateful. You guys can go and choose yourselves. Sima Jiyuan instructed, and everyone happily went to choose their own contracted beasts. In this half a year, they had been using the soul training art that Sima Yue had given them to cultivate their souls. Their consciousness had also become much stronger, so contracting another spirit beast was not a problem. Very quickly, everyone had chosen their own spirit beasts. Sima Jiyuan allowed them to contract their own spirit beasts while they watched from the side. With the ancestor around, they did not have to worry about anyone doing anything bad during the contract, so they all began to contract on the spot. The beast tamers also came. They wanted to see the legendary miracle with their own eyes. The contract was completed very quickly. When the light of the contract entered the bodies of the people and the contracted beasts, they were enveloped by the light of advancement. Some advanced by 1 level, some advanced by 2. It's really like this. The beast tamers were excited. These contracted beasts would really advance in rank. Not to mention other things, their contracted spirit beasts would definitely be more powerful than their peers. Sima Jiyuan and the others were also excited. Don't rely on this too much. Your own cultivation is the most important. They were able to advance so much because they had never experienced such a thing before. Once their bodies gained strength, they would advance by leaps and bounds. Also, ancient spirit beasts are very powerful, which is why their strength is so great. If it was a normal spirit beast, it might not have such an effect. Sima Yue poured cold water on them. That's not bad either, Sima Jiyuan said with a smile. Think about it. The younger generation with the same talent would definitely have similar cultivation levels. But if their family's younger generation could advance in rank during the contract, compared to their peers, they would definitely have an advantage, right? The light of advancement shone one after another, illuminating the entire mountain stream. In the light, they seemed to see the prosperity of their family. After the advancement ended for a while, everyone finally recovered from their shock, and were all overjoyed. They had never heard that this contract could allow humans and spirit beasts to advance in rank. Sima Jiyuan did not tell them at the beginning, because he had never seen the advancement of a contract with his own eyes. Although Sima Yue guaranteed that it would happen, what if it happened? Wouldn't they be happy for nothing? That was why the family did not know about the advancement of a contract. Sima Yue saw that things were more or less settled and said to Sima Jiyuan, Great-grandfather, I will send over some tamed spirit beasts in a few months. When that time comes, you can let people contract them like you did today. I'm not out of seclusion. Don't let anyone disturb me. Okay. Sima Ji Yuan also knew the difficulty of taming spirit beasts and instructed everyone not to disturb her. Then I'll take my leave first. Sima Yue turned and left the mountain after she finished speaking. This girl really. These people had obtained ancient spirit beasts and advanced in rank. They would definitely be grateful to her. But she just walked away. This child has a good temperament. After that, Sima Yue remained in seclusion. But she was not in seclusion to tame spirit beasts. Instead, she was researching medicine, alchemy and weapon refining. She waited for half a year before she came out and brought out a few hundred tamed spirit beasts. She did not care about how the spirit beasts were distributed after that. She just gave them to them and left, saying that she was going back to continue taming them. 2.5 years had passed, including the ones that Sima Yue had tamed and those that the beast tamer masters had tamed. The Sima family had a total of over 3,000 ancient spirit beasts. The core family members, regardless of their strength, had all received one, and this had greatly exceeded their expectations. Not to mention that they had even received some stone statues that had not been opened yet. This girl, don't tell me that she has taken down the entire mine? Sima Hishun sighed. Even if she didn't, it should be close. Sima Jiyuan said proudly. 5 years. It had only been 5 years since Sima Yue had returned to the family. To others, this was just an instant, but the Sima family had undergone earth-shattering changes. It was just that they were still keeping a low profile, and no one knew that they had quietly risen. At this time, a guard reported from outside. Patriarch, the He family's patriarch and madam are here. They say that they want to see young Mississippi. Chapter 1546. He Zhenjiang and Su Lunyan wanted to meet Sima Yue. Sima Jiyuan and Sima Hishun knew that Sima Yue had a good relationship with the He clan, but since they had come to look for her personally, something must have happened. Bring Master He and Madam He to the living room and send someone to invite Yue. Although they were here to look for Sima Yue, the family head was not a small force. Naturally, they had to welcome him. Sima Yue heard the commotion in the spirit pagoda. When she came out, she heard that He Zhenjiang had brought his wife to look for her. Got it. I'll be there in a bit. Sima Yue nodded at the guard. She closed the door and entered the spirit pagoda. When she came out again, she looked completely different. When she went to the living room, Sima Jiyuan was entertaining He Zhenjiang and Su Lunyan. Seeing Sima Yue enter, Su Lunyan smiled at her and said, "It's been a few years since we last met. This girl has become even more powerful." Great-grandfather, Uncle He, Aunt He. Sima Yue bowed to the three of them before sitting down beside Su Lunyan. "Yue, thank you for Su Yu's matter," Su Lunyan said gratefully. She had already heard from her family that Sima Yue had asked Feng Zhixing to save Su Yu and the Su family. If it wasn't for them, it would have been very difficult for Su Yu to return alive this time. "It's just a small matter. Besides, it was done by my master. I didn't do much," Sima Yue said. She didn't want to get tangled up in this matter, so she asked, "I heard that Uncle He came to find me. Is there something you need?" "I do have something to tell you." He Zhenjiang took out a box and passed it to Sima Yue. Sima Yue opened the box and saw some information inside. She took it out and looked at it. She said in shock, "They're already so rampant." He Zhenjiang nodded. "Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten so much information. What are you guys talking about?" Sima Jiyuan had asked He Zhenjiang a few times just now, but He Zhenjiang didn't tell him anything, but told his great-granddaughter. He seriously suspected that this guy would sell Sima Yue out. Sima Yue then recalled that the Sima family did not know about the undead, so she explained the whole story. Sima Jiyuan's face darkened when he heard this. Someone actually dares to raise corpses. He slammed the table with his palm. Fortunately, he didn't use too much strength, otherwise the table would be scrapped. "Great-grandfather, take a look at this, and then let great-granduncle and the elders come over to discuss this matter." Sima Yue handed him the information in her hand and said, It's Uncle He's first time coming to the Sima family. I'll bring them around. How could Sima Jiyuan not know what she meant? He had to tell the Sima family about this as soon as possible. However, He Zhenjiang would definitely not be with them, so it was best to let Sima Yue take care of him. He waved his hand and said, "Just take good care of Clan Master He and Madam He." "I will." Sima Yue brought He Zhenjiang and Su Lunyan around the Sima family, then brought them to her courtyard. "Yue, why don't you discuss this matter with them?" Su Lunyan asked. "I think everyone still remembers what happened that year. They have always been wary of my mother. If they talk about the undead, they will definitely talk about the ghost aura in my body. It won't be good if they are unhappy. It's better to avoid it," Sima Yue said. Actually, she was thinking too much about this matter. The Sima family worshipped her now, so why would they care about what happened that year? "Uncle He, what do you think about the undead? You came here personally to look for me, so it shouldn't be as simple as just giving me this information, right?" Sima Yue asked. He Zhenjiang did have something to tell Sima Yue, so he didn't hesitate and said directly, "I want to go to the 16th state. I wanted to ask if you want to go with me?" "Go to the 16th state?" Yeah, the Yang family got s'mores last time and suddenly had the idea of holding summer meeting. They invited many people to participate. He Zhenjiang said, "The undead matter has already been confirmed to be related to them. If we go this time, it can be said to be an opportunity." "Uncle He, when you were investigating the undead, were there other people investigating as well?" Sima Yue asked. "Yes, there were a few other forces investigating. I know that 2 of them are more powerful, and one of them even gave us some clues sometimes." He Zhenjiang felt a little uneasy when he said this. "I can roughly guess who it is." Sima Yue thought of Xianqiu He and the corners of her lips curled up. She told him about the undead back then, but she didn't expect him to really send people to investigate after he went back. As for the other stronger force, she didn't need to think to guess that it should be the Eastern Lai family. That day, the Xianqiu family and the Eastern Lai family both knew about this. How could the Eastern Lai family fall behind when the Xianqiu family sent people to investigate? The Yang family should have guessed that someone is investigating them. They actually dare to hold some or meeting at this time. I'm afraid they don't have any good intentions. Sima Yue's eyes were filled with mockery. "I also think that the Yang family might make a big move, so I came to ask if you want to go. You are very sensitive to the undead. If you go, you might be able to find out more clues. However, this trip will definitely be dangerous. So if you don't go, it's fine. Let me think about this." Sima Yue didn't agree immediately. Without Wu Lingyu by her side, she wasn't powerful enough. Also, the people who participated in the meeting held by the Yang family would definitely not be ordinary forces. If things got chaotic, her safety might not be guaranteed. She still had to discuss with her father and the others. "This isn't urgent. We will only set off 2 days later." What she meant was that she had 2 days. If she didn't go, they would go on their own. Before she left, Su Lunyan patted her hand and said, "I don't agree with you going. It's too dangerous there." "I will think about it." Sima Yue smiled at Su Lunyan. "Then we will go back first." They stayed in the inn outside. If Sima Yue went to look for them 2 days later, it meant that she was willing to go with them. When Sima Yue went back, the Sima family meeting had already ended. She went to look for Sima Jiyuan and told him about He Zhenjiang and the others. "Great-grandfather, do you think I should go with Uncle He and the others?" she asked. "Do you want to go?" Sima Jiyuan asked her back. "If you want to, of course I want to go out and take a look. However, there are so many experts outside. If I go out, it will definitely be more dangerous." She had stayed in the Sima family for 3 years, and she had stayed in the Spirit Pagoda for 30 years. She really wanted to go out and see more. Chapter 1547. In the end, Sima Yue agreed to go. It was not because Sima Jiyuan had given her the protection of the Cloud Guards, but because Sima Luxian had told her that she would regret it in the future if she did not do it. She didn't want to regret it. Since she wanted to go and take a look, she would go. Even if there were risks, She should be able to protect herself. If it was in the past, she would still be worried that she would bring harm to the family. However, after a few years, the Sima family had quietly risen. Over 3,000 ancient spiritual beasts were not something that 3,000 human experts could compare with. When combined, the combat power wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Instead, it was several times or more. Even if some people didn't have ancient spiritual beasts, they could still fuse with their contracted beasts better. It could be said that in just 5 years, the Sima family had grown into a force that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Yang and Su families. The Cloud Guards could be said to be the most powerful team in the Sima family. This time, the Cloud Guards were also assigned better spirit beasts for the contract with the ancient spirit beasts. Their combat ability was greatly improved. In the past, the Cloud Guards were only in charge of the family's affairs. Normally, they would only take action when the family was in trouble. If they were asked to protect a person in the past, they would definitely not agree. However, Sima Yue had done a lot for the family, and she had never done anything inappropriate in the family, so they were very grateful to her. Therefore, when they were asked to protect Sima Yue this time, everyone was eager to do it. At this moment, Sima Yue was refining pills in her spirit pagoda. Since he had decided to go out, he definitely had to prepare some good stuff. Seeing that it was about time, Sima Yue changed and came out of the spirit pagoda, then went to look for Sima Jiyuan. Sima Jiyuan was in the midst of a discussion with Sima Hishun and a group of elders. When he heard that Sima Yue had arrived, he immediately let her in. "You're leaving?" "Yes. Uncle, he said that he would be leaving at noon today." Sima Yue nodded. "Bring them along. If anything happens, immediately send a message to the family," Song Mingzhu instructed. "I know." Sima Yue took out a thick stack of papers and asked someone to pass it to Sima Jiyuan, saying, "Great-grandfather, there are a few hundred pill recipes here. I've transcribed them all." "Oh, Patriarch, can you show it to me?" The 10th Patriarch was an alchemist and was in charge of the Sima family's alchemy. He had long heard that Sima Yue was quite accomplished in alchemy. If she had pills that no one knew about, she would definitely have some secret pill formulas. Sima Jiyuan handed the pill recipes to him, and he was extremely excited after looking at a few of them. These are all lost pill formulas. The 10th elder's hands were trembling. The people in the room were also excited. If it was a lost pill formula, it meant that the Sima family could have some achievements in the field of pills in the future. Especially that thick stack of hundreds of different types of medicinal pills. This is a pill recipe from the primordial era. The 10th elder felt as if he couldn't breathe. He couldn't continue looking at the dozen or so pictures above. Is it really an ancient pill formula? That's right, I definitely won't be mistaken. The 10th elder said, "Patriarch, if our alchemists can refine these pills, our clansmen's strength will definitely increase even faster." Most of the pills that Sima Yue gave them were pills that increased their strength without much side effects. If the clansmen ate more of these, their strength would definitely increase even faster. Sima Yue didn't care about how excited the 10th elder was and took out some pills, saying, "These are the tendon and marrow cleansing pills that I refined when I was free. The effects are not bad. Those in the family who are still young can give it a try." Tendon and marrow cleansing pill. She had refined it before when she obtained the golden snake fruit. Refining it again now felt so distant. Hearing about the tendon and marrow cleansing pill, everyone became even more excited. This was a pill that could change one's talent. Is this really the tendon and marrow cleansing pill? Yes. The pill formula is also in there. It's not difficult. As long as you can find the ingredients, you can refine it yourself. But because the ingredients are hard to find, it's not realistic to refine it in large quantities. But if you give it to the younger generation to eat, it will still be good for the Sima family in the future. If you have such good stuff, why did you only take it out now? Sima Jiyuan scolded her, but the smile on his face deepened. "I forgot." Sima Yue retorted openly, although this was still considered an embarrassing thing. "You brat." The elders of the Sima family didn't know what to do with her. "Do you have any other treasures? If you have anything for the family, give it all to them. Otherwise, you won't remember it again." Sima Jiyuan said. Sima Yue thought about it. She couldn't give the book on a raise. That was something from the 100 Changing Doors. Although it was in her hands now, she still felt that it wasn't good to give it to the family without an agreement with the 100 Changing Doors. Just like the Imperial Beast art, she had also obtained Wu Lingyu's approval. She thought about it and took out a rubbing, saying, "I'll give this to you too." Sima Jiyuan used his divine sense to take a look and was stunned. Sima Hishun saw his reaction and asked, "What is this?" Sima Yue looked at everyone present. "Don't worry. Those who have become elders have all sworn that they will never betray the family." Sima Hishun said. What he meant was that they would definitely not tell anyone about the family's matters. That's spirit seeking the source. I got it by accident. I rubbed a copy of it. Sima Yue replied. Puft, puft. Two elders who were drinking tea spat it out. The others also looked at her in disbelief and shock. What did you say this was? Spirit seeking the source. You all should know about it, right? Sima Yue ignored their shocked expressions. Of course we know. You brat, what else do you not have? No wonder she knew alchemy, beast taming, spirit seeking and spirit seeking. She was one of the best in every field. Naturally, she was very powerful in every profession. Great-grandfather, great-uncle, although we have good techniques for beast taming, alchemy and spirit seeking, we can't put all of our efforts into these. Other than having strength, our own fighting ability is also very important. Sima Yue reminded. If they only had strength but no fighting ability, they would be afraid and retreat when faced with problems. That would be the biggest disadvantage. Sima Jiyuan was serious. Sima Yue was right. If that was really the case, their situation would be even more dangerous. When the treasure appeared, they would not have the strength to protect it. I will strengthen the combat training of our clansmen. I have a set of training methods here. Sima Yue had not finished speaking when the people in the house looked at her with burning eyes. This training method was given to her by Wu Lingyu. He was also the one who reminded her to do it. She believed that the clansmen who were trained by his method would not be comparable to other powers in terms of fighting ability. Chapter 1548. This time, it was not Sima Jiyuan who received the item, but Sima Hishun. After he read the training method, his expression changed again and again. Why isn't this good? Sima Jiyuan asked. No, it's fine. With this, I think their combat strength will definitely skyrocket. Sima Hishun put away the training method and added in his heart, this method is good, but those people in the family will have to suffer. Lingyu said that although this method is a little bitter, but if used well, you will see results in 1 or 2 years. When Sima Yue saw this training method, she couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. We'll start preparing after the meeting ends. Sima Hishun said. Although this method was a little cruel, the results of the training would definitely be very good. If Wu Lingyu were here, she would definitely give him a look of disdain. This was the method that the Devil Realm used to train soldiers. Of course, it would be effective. Also, if the Sima family really wants to rise, the economy can't fall behind. In the future, when we become stronger, we will need to spend more money. If we let this drag down our rise, we can only cry. Sima Yue said. We're also considering that. Now that we have the pill formulas that you have given us, we will first start with pills, then slowly develop other industries. Sima Jiyuan and the others had also considered the issue of finances. Young miss is really thoughtful about this. Someone praised. I heard that little miss is the Vice Valley Lord of the #1 Valley. There is no need to doubt her abilities. Sima Hishun and the rest had an idea, but before they could speak, Sima Yue spoke first. I'm just talking, I don't care about anything in the valley. Alright, great-grandfather, I've said everything I can. Uncle he is still waiting for me, so I'll go first. How could Sima Jiyuan not know that she wanted to escape, but now that she didn't want to manage the family's affairs? How could he go against her wishes and let her go with a wave of his hand? After she left, someone sighed. If we hand the clan over to the young miss, I think we can go to a higher level. This girl's heart isn't on this. She would definitely be unhappy if she had to do all this. Moreover, she has given us so many things. If the clan is still not revitalized, we don't have to go see our ancestors. Sima Hishun sighed. The great elder sighed in his heart. When he first saw Sima Yue in the immortal land, she was still an insignificant existence. However, at that time, he knew that the revival of the family depended on her. Sima Yue left the Sima family and went directly to Heijunjiang's inn. Heijunjiang was stunned when he saw the group of people behind Sima Yue. Great-grandfather said that I'm too weak and I need someone to protect me before I can go out. Sima Yue explained. Heijunjiang glanced at Sima Yue. Yes, she was indeed not strong. Let's go. Normally, a young lady would bring dozens of bodyguards with her when she went out. Sima Yue only brought 20 to 30 bodyguards with her, which was not considered a lot. Actually, even Sima Yue did not know that these were just bodyguards on the surface. Sima Jiyuan had even sent people to protect her in the dark. Teleportation arrays, spatial ships, teleportation arrays again. After more than a month, they finally arrived at Lucky City where the Yang family was located. Let's find an inn to stay in. There was still some time before the great meeting, so there was still plenty of room in the inn. They chose an inn that was not far from the Yang family, but it was not very crowded. Sima Yue chose a room where they could see the Yang family's residence when they opened the window. Young miss, the Yang family's residence is really spectacular. Enlei opened the window and sighed as she looked at the Yang family's residence. The Yang family is considered a first-rate power in the inner regions. They have been around for a long time. Naturally, it is not something that the Sima family can compare to. Sima Yue said. However, this Yang family can't be compared to the hidden families, right? Why are you still so emotional? The Eastern Lai family actually does not pay much attention to these things. They are all scattered and do not gather together on such a large scale. Enlei said. At this moment, when she talked about the Eastern Lai family, she was no longer as emotional as before. I was too busy before, and did not have time to ask you properly. Enlei, what are the hidden families like? Actually, they are similar to these families. It's just that the places where they live are more secretive. Some even live in small realms, so they are not known to the world. But from what I see, it's just that their background is slightly deeper than the average family. Enlei said. This was similar to what Sima Yue thought. After that, she asked a few more questions about the Eastern Lai family, and Enlei told her everything she knew. But she did not know anything about the core matters. Forget it, if you know too much about the Eastern Lai family's secrets, they will not be at ease letting you leave. Sima Yue was not discouraged. She understood a lot more about the hidden families from the information she got today. Miss, if you interfere in this matter, will it delay young Master He's matter? Enlei knew the importance of the miracle medicine to Sima Yue, and was a little worried. No matter what happens, it will not stop me from going to the Xianqiu family. Sima Yue was not worried. With Xianqiu He's ability, even if she was not in the Sima family, he would still be able to find her. Enlei was not afraid that Xianqiu He would not be able to find Sima Yue. She was just afraid that Sima Yue would not be able to leave when the time came. But since Sima Yue said so, it meant that she had thought it through. I don't know why the undead matter has developed to such a serious extent. Sima Yue put down the book in her hand. Her gaze darkened as she thought about the news she saw earlier. In the past, they were still very careful and killed in small areas. Now that they dare to do something like massacring the entire city, it means that they are very confident now. Miss, it has only been 3 years. How did they develop so quickly? It's hard to nurture a person, but it doesn't take so much time to nurture an undead, Sima Yue scoffed coldly. If a person wanted to become an expert, he would have to spend hundreds or thousands of years. But to become an undead, he only needed to kill those experts. Hence, the speed was naturally very fast. In just over 10 years, those people did not have to worry about anything. She had been in the inner region for 5 to 6 years. Before that, Su Lunyan had been in a coma for 5 to 6 years. Counting them, it was only over 10 years. Back then, they had to be careful. Now they were lawless. Miss, we are not on good terms with the Yang family. It's best that you don't show yourself, Enlei reminded. Who knows what they will do to you if they know that you are here? Sima Yue nodded. You are right. Before the meeting, I will disguise myself and go out. When the meeting comes, they won't dare to do anything to me so brazenly. Chapter 1549. Seeing Sima Yue's change in appearance, He Zhenjiang and the others were surprised. They knew that she had a grudge against the Yang family, so they thought it was better to do this. Unfortunately, the Yang clan was still more cautious towards their own clan. They had stayed here for more than a month, but they did not find out the relationship between the Yang clan and the undead. Over the past few days, the people who were going to participate in the Great Convention had arrived one after another. On the streets of Ji City, there were many people from other factions. Sima Yue and Enlei were walking on the streets. Little Lucky was hanging on her shoulder and swaying back and forth. He was very curious about the things around him. Miss, you won't be targeted if you bring Xiaoxi out, right? Enlei was a little worried. What can we do? This little fella really can't hold it in any longer. Sima Yue was also helpless. Little Lucky was simply unwilling to stay in the spirit pagoda. It'll be troublesome if people find out about its identity, Enlei said worriedly. That won't happen. Sima Yue had previously instructed Qi Yan to teach Little Lucky how to restrain his aura. Therefore, as long as he didn't lose control of himself in anger, no one would be able to detect his ancient aura. As for how it looked like Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior, other than the people she took away that day, no one else knew. As for them, they knew how powerful Supreme Fifth Spirit Senior was. Thus, they did not dare to attack Little Lucky. However, even if Xiaoxi's identity as an ancient spiritual beast would not be exposed, it would still attract a lot of trouble. Sima Yue looked at the woman in front of her and asked expressionlessly, "What's the matter?" The woman in front of him was dressed in a bright red dress and wore a bracelet on her hand. There were several bells hanging from the bracelet, and every time she raised her hand, there would be a clear ringing sound. She was originally a beauty, but the arrogance on her face ruined her beauty. Dan Yushi looked at Xiaoxi, who was perched on Sima Yue's shoulder, and said, "Miss, this little fellow is so cute. Can you sell him to me?" "I'm sorry, it's not for sale." Sima Yue wanted to walk around her, but the other party also took a step to the side. "You don't have a contract with this spirit beast, so you won't lose anything by selling it to me. I'll give you 500,000 high-grade crystals," Dan Yushi said. Because Little Lucky had restrained his aura, he had also concealed his strength. Therefore, to outsiders, Little Lucky was just a pet. Since it was a pet, 100,000 high-grade crystals were considered expensive, let alone 500,000. In the eyes of the onlookers, Sima Yue had gotten a great bargain. No. Sima Yue did not expect to encounter such a situation. Well, to be exact, it was a matter of snatching spirit beasts. You can't? Dan Yushi thought that Sima Yue would be happy to hear her offer, but she refused. "Yes, I will sell my spirit beast. Miss, please step aside." Sima Yue said calmly. "You actually rejected my request? Do you know who I am?" Dan Yushi was stunned for a moment, then asked with a cold face. "I don't know." Sima Yue said honestly. Dan Yushi originally wanted to wait for Sima Yue to reveal her identity. Then she would generously say that she only wanted her spirit beast. She did not expect her to directly say that she did not know. "You really don't know? Am I supposed to know?" Sima Yue took a step back and sized Dan Yushi up again. She shook her head and said, "I really don't know." Dan Yushi's expression changed again and again. The servant girl at the side pointed at Sima Yue's nose and said, "My lady is the cousin of the Yang family. My lady is the daughter of the third branch of the Yang family." "Oh, so you are the cousin of the Yang family. I know now," Sima Yue said solemnly, but everyone could tell that she did not know who Sima Yue was. "Since you know, why don't you obediently hand over your spirit beast?" The servant girl raised her chin and put her hands on her waist. She was very arrogant, as if this was a gift to Sima Yue. "Ah, Xiaoxi is mine. Are you trying to force a deal?" Sima Yue hugged Xiaoxi. "You have not contracted this spirit beast. How can you prove that it is yours?" Dan Yushi said. "This is clearly my lost spirit beast. You picked it up and did not return it to me. Now that I am willing to buy it back for 500,000, you are actually unwilling? Dan Yushi's voice was very loud, and the people around looked over. Those who knew Dan Yushi looked at Sima Yue with sympathy. However, those who came from outside and did not know Dan Yushi, when they heard what she said, they felt that Sima Yue was too much. Sima Yue was not interested in this kind of arrogant lady. Since she knew that the Yang family was involved with the undead, she did not intend to give face to the Yang family. I have seen shameless people, but I have never seen someone as shameless as you. She laughed. Those who knew her well would know that every time she laughed, it meant that someone was going to be unlucky. You dare to scold my family's young miss? The servant girl shouted. Since you say that this little fella is yours, then you can take it. Sima Yue said as she pulled Xiaoxi, whose shoulder was injured, and threw it at Dan Yushi. Since this was a spirit beast's problem, then the spirit beast should solve it himself. Dan Yushi saw that Sima Yue gave in so easily, and was very happy. She did not even think as she caught Xiaoxi. When Xiaoxi was in Dan Yushi's arms and smelled the strong fragrance on her body, it was extremely disgusted. It wanted to break free, but it did not use spiritual energy. Moreover, Dan Yushi was a body cultivator, so it was unable to break free. Since I have already given this spirit beast to you, don't bother me anymore. Sima Yue said and turned to leave. When Xiaoxi saw that Sima Yue was about to leave, it panicked. It used all its strength to break free from her arms, and ran towards Sima Yue. However, when it was about to leave, it slapped Dan Yushi's face, smashing half of her face. Everyone was stunned by this unforeseen event. The spirit beast that was obediently hanging on Sima Yue's shoulder had smashed the face of a body cultivator. This person was the young miss of the Dan family, a famous tyrant in the 16th state. Ah! Dan Yushi's servant girl screamed. When she saw Dan Yushi on the ground, she was stunned and did not know what to do. Everyone regained their senses from her screams and looked in the direction that Sima Yue left, but she was no longer there. In a nearby tea house, in a private room on the second floor, two people were sitting opposite each other. That feeling just now wasn't wrong, right? It was indeed the aura of an ancient spirit beast. This means that someone has already obtained an ancient spirit beast. But there is no contract. How can the current beast tamers tame an ancient spirit beast? Unless the spirit beast recognizes an owner, how can there be a contract? However, how could those ancient spirit beasts recognize an owner of their own accord? Actually, those large clans had ways to tame ancient spirit beasts. However, these were all unconventional methods and were not true taming. Chapter 1550. Dan Yushi was brought back to the Yang family. The moment she entered the Yang family, she sent someone to check on Sima Yue. Sima Yue did not transform when she went out this time. With the power of the Yang family, even if it was just a small branch, it would be easy to find her in Cord City. However, this news was not immediately sent to Dan Yushi, because the Yang family had previously instructed that as long as it was related to the He family, it must be reported to the upper management first. Family head, this He Zhenjiang has been investigating us. Is this Sima Yue purposely released by him to cause trouble? So that we can take the initiative to get in touch with him? An elder guessed. Yang Wei had a deep impression of Sima Yue. He knew that she was not someone with a simple background and had a good relationship with those hidden families. Furthermore, he had heard that she had left the ancient mining area under the nose of the ancient spirit beast. Perhaps she had some connection with the ancient spirit beast. Master, since Sima Yue is with He Zhenjiang, should we take this opportunity to get rid of them? There's no rush. Yang Wei stopped him. He Zhenjiang is already investigating the corpses. The great meeting is about to start. If this matter gets out, it will hinder our plan. This matter is over. Yes. Since the patriarch had already said so, they naturally would not pursue this matter any further. Besides, the Shan family was just a subordinate of the Yang family. There was no need to give them any face. In her own courtyard, Dan Yushi heard that even if her face recovered, it would collapse a little in the future. In other words, her face was completely ruined. She was so angry that she trembled. She wanted to catch Sima Yue and cut her into pieces. Therefore, when the Yang family's guards came to inform her of the Yang family's intentions, she was so angry that she smashed all the furnishings in the house. Sima Yue initially thought that the Yang family would find trouble with her, but after waiting for a few days, there was still no news. The Yang family probably suppressed it. She guessed. Why? Judging from Dan Yushi's appearance that day, she should be a very arrogant person. Such a person wouldn't let things go so easily. And Lei didn't understand. Although they've borrowed the Yang family's power all these years, the greater meeting is about to begin. They're afraid that will expose the matter of the undead. Sima Yue said, "It doesn't matter whether we have evidence or not. The issue of the undead has been blown out of proportion all these years. If others know about it, it will only be bad for them. Young miss, I feel that the Yang family is probably planning something bad by holding this greater meeting at this time." And Lei said, "Uncle, he has also guessed this, but he hasn't grasped the direct connection between the Yang family and the undead. It's not good to risk the He family. If there was no evidence, no one would believe the He clan's words, and it might even lead to the Yang clan's revenge. The Yang clan was much stronger than the He clan, so He Zhenjiang didn't dare to act recklessly. Miss, do you think they will turn Yangshi into a corpse?" And Lei had heard Sima Yue mention Yangshi's matter after she came to Ji City. "They won't." Sima Yue shook her head. "We've seen these corpses before. Although they might not have all 4 limbs, most of their teeth are still intact. Back then Yangshi and the others were dismembered by the spirit beasts, so how could they still be turned into corpses? Moreover, these corpses have to be disposed of not long after they die. Yangshi and the others were only found a few days later. It's already not bad to be able to find their bones. It's impossible to refine them into corpses. If I were Wei Xuezhu, I wouldn't want to refine her into a corpse." And Lei lamented. "Oh, why? A walking corpse will be very painful." "Perhaps." Sima Yue laughed. "It's a pity that we can't use the scarlet bees to scout for information this time. It'll probably be difficult to find anything." Previously, she wanted to use the scarlet bees to scout for information, but the undead were very sensitive to life force. Although there were no spirit energy waves, they still discovered it and killed the scarlet bees that were sent out. In order to make them think that it was a coincidence, she didn't send out any more scarlet bees. At this moment, Su Lunyan came over and knocked on her door. "Uncle He, Aunt He, why are you here?" Su Lunyan and He Zhenjiang entered the room. Su Lunyan was a little embarrassed and said, "Yue, I have something to tell you." It was the first time Sima Yue saw Su Lunyan like this. She asked curiously, "Please speak, Aunt He." "We want you to participate in the greater meeting," He Zhenjiang said, "but if you do, you might be targeted by others." "Did the investigation of the undead not go smoothly?" Sima Yue asked. He Zhenjiang and Su Lunyan nodded. Sima Yue was a little hesitant. The ors that were allowed to participate in the greater meeting had to be selected. But if it was too good, it would attract attention to the clan. "We know that this is very dangerous, but we don't have any good ors," He Zhenjiang said. Sima Yue thought about it and said, "Uncle He, if I participate in the greater meeting, it will implicate the clan. But I can give you an or for you to participate." When He Zhenjiang heard the first part, he was a little disappointed. But when he heard the second part, he was a little surprised. "That's fine too," he nodded. "As long as you can enter the Yang clan." Sima Yue thought about it and took out an ancient ore. It was the size of a watermelon. There shouldn't be any ancient spirit beasts in it. "I got this from the ancient mine." "You should be able to enter the Yang clan with it." He Zhenjiang didn't stand on ceremony. He took the ore and said, "After the greater meeting, I will give you the item." "Okay. Today is the last day of registration. I will go and register first." After He Zhenjiang finished speaking, he took the ore and left. Sima Yue saw that Su Lunyan wasn't with him. She asked, "Aunt He, what's the matter?" "It's that nephew of mine. He heard that you're here too. He wants to see you to express his gratitude," Su Lunyan said. Sima Yue wanted to go to Wu Lingyu. Before she left, she reminded her repeatedly and evaded. "Aunt He, if you want to thank someone, you should thank my master. I didn't do anything. I just offended Miss Biao from the Yang clan. It's better for me to stay in the inn at this time. If something happens when I go out and ruin Uncle He's plans, it won't be good." How could Su Lunyan not understand her meaning? Since she didn't want to see her, then forget it. So you knew that Sima Yue didn't want to see her. She was a little disappointed, but she couldn't say anything. "If you want to talk to her, she will be with us during the great or meeting." "I understand, Aunt." Now they could only wait for the great or meeting. Chapter 1551. 3 days later, the OR meeting was held as promised. Sima Yue followed He Zhenjiang and the others to the open-air plaza, where the meeting was held early in the morning. After verifying that the OR was indeed the one that was registered that day, she let them in. After Sima Yue entered, she saw that there were already a lot of people in the plaza. She estimated that there were at least tens of thousands of people participating in this meeting. "I think I can broaden my horizons this time. If Third Rascal participates." Thinking of Third Mo, who she had not contacted for many years, she was a little worried. This guy couldn't have gone to some dangerous place again, right? When He Zhenjiang and the others arrived at the designated location, Sima Yue left with Enlay, preparing to take a look at the oars that had already been displayed. "Miss Yue." Sima Yue turned around and saw Su Yu with 2 guards. "Young Master Su, you're also here to participate in the OR meeting," she greeted with a smile. "I heard that the winner of this meeting will obtain an ancient spirit beast, so we came to participate," Su Yu replied. Sima Yue nodded. She had also heard that the winner's prize this time was 3 ancient spirit beast stone statues, which was why so many forces were attracted to participate. "How's the spirit beast from last time?" She thought of the ancient spirit beast that had caused trouble for the Su family. "It has already been tamed and contracted." So you did not avoid the topic. If Sima Yue had any ideas, she would have already implemented them in the mining area. Sima Yue did not ask how they tamed it. She only said that it was fine as long as it was contracted. This way, others would not be able to have any ideas about it. If the contractor died, the spirit beast would naturally die as well. "I'm going to take a look at those oars, so I won't disturb young Master Su." Sima Yue bowed to Su Yu and left with Enlay. Su Yu looked at her back as she left, his eyes darkening. "Young Master, this Sima Yue is really arrogant," the guard behind Su Yu said. Su Yu turned around and glared at him, berating. "You've been flattered too much. You feel uncomfortable when you see someone not flattering you? She's my savior. If you say that again, then scram." "Young Master, I was wrong." This guard was assigned to him by his family after he returned from the ancient mines. He wasn't close to him. Sima Yue also heard the small interlude at the back, but she didn't care. She brought Enlay and Little Seven, with Little Lucky on her shoulder and Little Gold on her wrist, to the various stalls to look for oars. Every stall had an or marked with a number. These were the oars that would be participating in the competition. Next to this or were some other oars, which were for sale. Those who came to participate in these meetings basically brought along seeker spirit masters. When they saw the oars they wanted, they would bid for them. However, she found that most of the people wanted to exchange things, not to sell them for money. Thinking about it, if they wanted to sell it for a high price, why would they sell it in a place where oars were flying everywhere? It would be more profitable to sell it in a shop. She wandered around the stalls one by one, and found that quite a few forces were taking out primordial ores. He didn't expect there to be so many survivors from that incident. Actually, he had to thank that massacre. Because of that incident, those who lived far away from the mine had fled. Some of them had stayed there for more than half a year. That time, they managed to escape with their lives. She walked around, but didn't find any ores that were worth her attention, so she returned to He Zhenjiang's stall. When she returned, she found that more than half of the people He Zhenjiang brought had left. "Uncle He, I don't think the Yang clan will let us investigate them at this time," Sima Yue said softly. "I'll let them take a look. If they can't do it, they'll come back," He Zhenjiang said. This plaza was connected to one of the Yang clan's houses. It wasn't easy for them to enter, so they naturally had to enter the Yang clan to take a look. Sima Yue felt that this was a little risky, but the Yang clan had been very restrained recently. They also didn't have any concrete evidence, so they could only do this. How are we going to compete in this competition? Because she didn't plan to participate, she didn't even know the process of the competition. It's actually very simple. Do you see that high platform? Su Lunyan pointed at the high platform at the side. All the ores that are participating have been marked. According to the order of the numbers, they will be brought to the high platform to be opened. Whoever has a higher value will be appraised and ranked according to the price. Won't it take a long time? A few more powers will go up at once. It won't take more than a few days. He Zhenzhong said. Oh, then when it's time to open the ores, let's go take a look. Sima Yue was still very interested in opening the ores. After the powers that were participating in the competition entered, the competition officially started. Just like what Su Lunyan said, the participants were called to the high platform to open the ores. Many people gathered below the high platform and focused their attention on the ores to see how good the items were. The ores that were participating in the competition were not of low grades. The items that were opened were also not bad. Even Sima Yue was envious of some of the items, but she was despised by Little Spirit. Sima Yue didn't feel embarrassed. Everyone liked treasures. After the people on the high platform opened the ores, they brought the items to the judges to appraise. These were all people of virtue and prestige. The prices that they gave were also more reasonable. After the registration was done, those people took the items and left. One went down and one went up. There were always 50 Seeker Spirit Masters on the high platform opening the ores. As the items that were opened were all treasures, the people below didn't feel bored. The high platform was always filled with people. Sima Yue was quite interested in the beginning. However, after looking for a few days and not seeing any treasures, she lost interest. However, Enlei and Little Seven were always paying attention. From time to time, they would tell Sima Yue about the treasures that were opened. Thus, she knew that quite a few ancient spiritual medicines had been found this time. Moreover, they were all extinct now. He Zhenzhong registered late. When he went to open the ores, it was already the last day of the competition. After so many days, the people in the plaza didn't leave. He Zhenzhong also brought along a Seeker Spirit Master. Sima Yue watched below and didn't open the ores personally. The final result was as she expected. An immemorial elixir was opened from the ores. This isn't an ordinary elixir. It's a saint elixir. An old man saw the elixir and became excited. It's actually a saint elixir. Really? I didn't expect that we would be able to see a saint elixir in our lifetime. A saint elixir is close to a divine elixir. There was an uproar below the high platform. Many people were excited. Sima Yue looked at the excited gazes around her and sighed helplessly. She just casually took out an ore. How did it become a saint elixir? Many people stared at the saint elixir with different expressions. They were probably thinking about it. Chapter 1552. He Zhenzhong and Su Lunyan's faces darkened when they saw the sacred medicine. They did not expect that the ore Sima Yue had given them would be so good that they could obtain a saint medicine that was only second to a godly medicine. They would definitely be happy for Sima Yue if they got such a good item in private, but now it brought them trouble. This item was now under their names. Now it was likely that many clans had shifted their target to the He clan. Uncle He, didn't you say that if we found something good, we would auction it off? Now that there's a saint medicine, do you still want to auction it? He Zhenzhong was shocked when he heard Sima Yue's words. They had never said anything like that before. Wasn't she saying that she wanted to sell this sacred medicine? They had brought quite a number of people with them, but it would not be easy for them to escape from so many forces. Selling the sacred medicine was to size up the situation. It could protect his own safety and also prevent those people from having designs on the He clan. But that was a saintly medicine. How could she bear to part with it? To be able to resist the temptation of treasures at such a young age, this kind of temperament was very rare. However, What moved him and Su Lunyan was her heart towards them. This holy medicine was under the name of the He clan. When this matter was over, they would definitely return the holy medicine to her. This way, she wouldn't be targeted by others after obtaining the holy medicine. It could be said that she had sold the saintly medicine for them. He looked at Sima Yoyue's little face and was extremely touched. He stared at her in a daze. In the eyes of others, he was unwilling to sell the sacred medicine, and was angry at Sima Yoyue for talking too much. Thus someone asked, "Patriarchy, is what this little girl said true? Are you really going to sell this sacred medicine?" His tone was very urgent. He was afraid that He Zhenjiang would say something negative. He Zhenjiang came back to his senses and nodded. "That's what I said before. Patriarch He, since you have such a plan, why don't you sell it to me? Patriarch He, please sell it to me. Patriarch He, how much are you selling this holy medicine?" He Zhenjiang was getting a headache from their quarrel. Su Lunyan smiled and said, "Old master, we are still in the great or convention. Let's talk about selling the sacred herbs after this is over." Since they had already said that they wanted to sell this sacred medicine, those people would not have any thoughts of snatching it. "Uncle He, since so many people want this sacred medicine, you can't just sell it to anyone, right?" Sima Yue said. "Do you have any ideas?" This was her thing, so naturally, she had to make the final decision. "I feel that all the uncles want this saintly medicine, so it wouldn't be good for you to sell it to anyone, right? Why don't I hand this sacred medicine over to the Xianyuan Pavilion and ask them to auction it on my behalf? It's fair to whoever gets the sacred medicine in the end," Sima Yue suggested. He Zhenjiang's eyes lit up. This wasn't a bad idea. Not only would he be able to sell the item, but he wouldn't cause any dissatisfaction from the other forces. "And when the convention is over, we'll send the sacred medicine over." He nodded, giving a message to the people around him. "If you want the sacred medicine, go to the auction yourself." In the past, very few people would bring their items to the auction house after opening it. They would either keep it for themselves or auction it on the spot. Therefore, after opening something good, no one thought of selling it to the auction house. There was another reason. Normally, only 1 or 2 items would be opened. If there were so few items, the auction house wouldn't hold a separate auction. This time, with Sima Yue taking the lead, there would definitely be many people who would bring their items to the auction house. Furthermore, just the sacred medicine alone was worth the auction house holding an auction. Not to mention, Sima Yue still had the token that Old Man Jun had given her back then. When everyone heard that they were going to put the item in the Xianyuan Pavilion, they stopped trying to persuade them. If they were to sell it at the auction house, they would definitely be able to get a higher price. Naturally, they wouldn't buy it here. Furthermore, they had time to gather the money, so they had more confidence in competing for this sacred medicine. When the few people who had opened the item heard this, they all had the same thought. If they could bring it to the Xianyuan Pavilion to sell, they wouldn't be in a hurry to sell it now. When the value of the treasure didn't match the strength of the owner, even if they had it, they could only give it away. As for those powerful clans, the treasures that they obtained might not necessarily be what they liked. Now that they heard that those people were going to the auction house, they might be able to get what they wanted. Therefore, there were many people who had this thought. After the last person had opened the stone, the person in charge of the auction came up to the stage. He cupped his hands towards the crowd and said, "The results have already been recorded. However, because there is a lot of data, we still have to estimate the final value from many aspects. Therefore, the results will only be out in 2 days. Tomorrow, our family head has prepared a banquet for everyone. I hope that everyone can attend." After the auction ended, the people in the square gradually dispersed. However, many people directly went to the Xianyuan Pavilion. When Sima Yue and the rest arrived at the Xianyuan Pavilion, many people had already handed their items to the Xianyuan Pavilion. The people in the Xianyuan Pavilion had already received the news. Therefore, they weren't surprised when they saw these people. However, they were overjoyed. This was equivalent to giving them free money. When the waiter saw Sima Yue and the rest coming in, he welcomed them with a smile and asked, "Dear guests, are you here to buy something?" Sima Yue shook her head. The waiter immediately reacted and asked, "Are you here to auction something too?" Sima Yue took out her token and said that she wanted to see their manager. When the waiter saw the token, he became even more respectful. This token was only given to Sima Yue. He immediately understood her identity. "Miss Yue, the manager is behind. Please follow me." He directly brought them to the manager. When the manager heard that Sima Yue was here, he immediately welcomed her in. When he found out that the sacred medicine was hers, he was extremely surprised. "Miss Yue, are you planning to auction the sacred medicine?" At first, he thought that Sima Yue was crazy. How could she sell such a good thing? However, he immediately realized that the sacred medicine would definitely bring danger to her if she kept it. "Miss Yue, if you are worried about the safety of the sacred medicine, we can send it back to your residence." With the Xianyuan pavilion sending it, the sacred medicine would definitely reach the Sima family safely. "No need. Since you said that you want to auction it, then let's auction it." It wasn't that Sima Yue didn't like the sacred medicine. However, it was too eye-catching to be opened in public. Even if it was sent back to her family, it would bring danger to her family. When the manager saw that Sima Yue was insistent, he didn't try to persuade her anymore. Every Xianyuan pavilion had their own assessment targets. If they could auction off the sacred medicine, then they would definitely pass the assessment this time. "We will definitely bid for the sacred medicine at a satisfactory price for you. Then I will have to trouble you." Sima Yue didn't stand on ceremony. When Yang Wei found out that Sima Yue and many others had sent the sacred medicine to the Xianyuan pavilion, he was so angry that he threw the cup in his hand. Chapter 1553. Silence reigned in the meeting hall. This Sima Yue. Yang Wei gritted his teeth. Veins popped out on his forehead. It was clear how angry he was. If she hadn't suggested that he Zhenzhong give the sacred medicine to the Xianyuan pavilion, the others wouldn't have followed suit. "If I had known earlier, I would have gotten rid of her a few days ago," an elder said. "It's useless to say that now. Patriarch, we should think of a way to get those things." Another elder was more rational. "We can't go head-to-head with the Xianyuan pavilion. He could only spend money to bid for it. No matter what price I have to pay, I have to get my hands on those ancient era's spirit herbs." When Yang Wei thought about how much money he had to spend, his heart ached. Fortunately, the higher-ups would give them some support. Otherwise, with their financial resources, they might not be able to win the bid. "Patriarch, it's best to separate them. If those people know that the things have fallen into our hands, I'm afraid it will cause unnecessary trouble. Yes, we'll split into a few groups. Each group will be responsible for one type of spirit herb. After 2 days, the Xianyuan pavilion would bring the auction list over, and then they would work out a detailed plan. After this is over, we must kill Sima Yue." "Yes, Patriarch." Sima Yue did not know that she had been blacklisted by the Yang family. Even if she knew, she wouldn't care. In any case, ever since she met Yang Shi, it was impossible for her to be on good terms with them. The steward of the Xianyuan pavilion carefully put away the sacred medicine. Together with Sima Yue, he personally sent the sacred medicine to the secret room. Then he said, "Miss Yue, we plan to hold the auction in half a year. What do you think? Do I have to wait that long? The more time passes, the more people will know about the sacred medicine. When the time comes, there will be more people participating in the auction, and this sacred medicine will be able to fetch a higher price." The manager was very considerate towards Sima Yue. "Will there be any problems after leaving it there for so long?" Sima Yue was worried. If it was someone else who questioned Xianyuan pavilion, the steward would have left immediately. However, in front of Sima Yue, he didn't even dare to show any displeasure. "Don't worry, the item is in the Xianyuan pavilion. It's absolutely safe. That secret room just now, even a high-level honorable realm expert wouldn't be able to break it. Not to mention, we have an expert guarding it," the manager said. What he didn't say was that in the primordial lands, no one dared to have designs on the Xianyuan pavilion. Sima Yue knew that Xianyuan pavilion was related to Feng people. When she thought of Feng Ruyan, She also believed that no one would dare to have any ideas about Xianyuan Pavilion. Then let's do it half a year later. I'll come back in half a year. If he could earn more money, it didn't matter if he delayed a little. 2 days later, I will send over the list of participants for this auction. If Miss is interested in anything, we can keep an eye out for you. Then I'll have to trouble you. Sima Yue then told him where she was staying before leaving with He Zhenjiang and the others. On the way back, Su Lunyan tried to hold it in but was eventually defeated by her own curiosity. Yue, are you also from the Xianyuan Pavilion? Sima Yue shook her head. It was just a coincidence that I treated a very important person. After that, they gave me the token. Speaking of which, this thing is really useful. Everywhere I go, the managers are all respectful. With the Xianyuan Pavilion, you'll be much safer wherever you go. And with them arranging for you, this sacred medicine will definitely be auctioned for a good price. Su Lunyan said. It's a pity, if only you could keep it for yourself. Speaking of which, it's also our fault. If we didn't borrow the ore from you, you could have kept this sacred medicine. He Zhenjiang said guiltily. Although this sacred medicine could be auctioned for a sky-high price, this was a sacred medicine from the primordial era. No amount of money could buy it. I like money. I can buy many other useful things. Sima Yue didn't mind. Anyway, she had more than one sacred medicine. At this moment, in the Spirit Pagoda's collection pavilion, there were still 3 sacred medicines. They were all obtained when she was resting for the past few years. It had to be said that little gold was definitely in primordial treasure detector. None of the ores that it let Sima Yue pick were white stones. Every single one of them could be obtained. The first time she obtained a sacred medicine, she was excited for a long time. The second time she obtained one, she was much calmer. The third time she obtained a sacred medicine, she wasn't surprised at all. And she saw that the sacred medicine that was obtained this time wasn't as good as the 3 in the Spirit Pagoda, so she wasn't reluctant to part with it. He Zhenjiang and Su Lunyan saw that Sima Yue was very calm after obtaining the sacred medicine. She wasn't reluctant to part with it at all. The two of them sighed in their hearts at her good attitude. Sima Yue could tell what they were thinking, but she didn't say anything. She couldn't tell them that she still had the sacred medicine, so she didn't care about it. When the surrounding people saw them coming out of Xianyuan Pavilion, they knew that they were really going to auction the sacred medicine, so they gave up on tailing them. The 3 of them returned to the inn. When He Zhenjiang opened the door, he saw a person covered in blood. Sima Yue was about to return to her room, but when she smelled the blood in the room, she looked over. Old master, we were ambushed. The people who went are all dead. After that person finished speaking, he fell into a deep sleep. He Zhenjiang and Su Lunyan's faces were very ugly. The people they sent were all experts among experts, but they were all dead. The Yang clan must have guessed that someone would take the opportunity to go to their clan, so they ambushed us in advance. Sima Yue said. He Zhenjiang also thought of this when he gave him the pill. Old master, we have to hide him first. If the Yang clan finds us here, we'll be in trouble. Su Lunyan reminded. He Zhenjiang took out a small pearl. After injecting spiritual energy, a door to a small realm appeared in the room. He bent down to carry the guard and brought him in. Soon after, he came out again. Sima Yue didn't expect him to have a small realm. No wonder she felt that she had never seen the people who followed her to the auction. She thought that they came later on. Now it seemed like they were placed in the small realm before. None of the people who went to investigate returned. He Zhenjiang's aura was a little low. Old master, are we going to the banquet tomorrow? Their people were killed. If they went to the Yang clan tomorrow, would they not be able to return? Go, of course we're going. How can we miss such a good opportunity to enter the Yang clan? He Zhenjiang snorted. But Yue, don't go. I feel that the Yang clan doesn't have good intentions in organizing this great meeting. Sima Yue shook her head. If the Yang clan wants to deal with you, even if I stay in the inn, I won't be able to escape. I might as well go with you guys. It'll be safer this way. He Zhenjiang thought about it and agreed to bring her along. Chapter 1554. Recommended reading. Although there were some people who didn't want to attend the banquet, there were still many people who went because of the Yang family's face. We don't write, we're just web text movers. Sima Yue was wearing an emerald green dress. Her hair was combed into a simple bun with an emerald green hairpin, and a pair of earrings of the same color. Although she was dressed simply, she gave people a comfortable feeling. She sat quietly in the corner of the banquet hall, holding a glass of wine and quietly watching the crowd. May I sit down? Sima Yue looked up and saw Su Yu's smiling face. Whatever. She shrugged. This was not her place. Su Yu sat beside her with a wine glass and said, I saw you looking at these people just now. What are you looking at? I'm thinking, what's the purpose of the Yang family spending money to hold the great or meeting? Sima Yue said, spending money and putting in effort. What benefits does it bring them? I think they are here for those ancient things, Su Yu said. Oh, why do you say that? Sima Yue turned to look at him. As far as I know, from the end of the conference yesterday to the banquet, the Yang family went to find several forces. Su Yu said, they all have one thing in common. They are all primordial ores? Not only that, but those forces have also obtained primordial spiritual herbs. So I guess that if your holy medicine hadn't been auctioned off by the Xianyuan pavilion, I'm afraid they would have already found you. So you guessed. They got it all. Some of them aren't as strong as them, so they naturally can't withstand their pressure. But some were not so lucky. They don't have your boldness, throwing away the sacred medicine just because you said you didn't want it. In the end, it was left in their hands and ended up in the hands of the Yang family. Sima Yue could hear the teasing in his words. She laughed and said, if you can't protect it, why keep it by your side? On the contrary, it will only lead to disaster. Not everyone can be so open-minded. Su Yu admired her. If it were him, he might not be able to take it out so easily. Sima Yue smiled and did not reply. This time, first place belongs to you. That ancient spiritual beast will probably attract the attention of others. Su Yu reminded. On the surface, it belongs to Uncle He and the others. Those people won't find me, Sima Yue said. After knowing that he had a little realm, she felt that she couldn't underestimate the He clan's strength. They wouldn't have much of a problem obtaining a stone statue. If someone wanted to snatch it, they would definitely not be able to return. If you sit here, not only will Uncle He and the rest not be able to return, but you will also be captured by the Yang family? Su Yu asked when he saw Sima Yue fall silent again. Sima Yue frowned slightly. She felt that Su Yu was trying to get close to her. And he is your aunt, aren't you worried? She asked. Su Yu looked at the alienation in her eyes and sighed helplessly in his heart. Previously, she heard that her relationship with Yin Lang was quite good. Why was she so guarded against her? Since I know that they will be fine, what's there to worry about? I'm going back. Goodbye. For some reason, Sima Yue couldn't get close to Su Yu, even if he was Su Lunyan's nephew. At this moment, Su Lunyan and He Zhenjiang walked over. Looking at Sima Yue's back, she said, did you offend her? Su Yu didn't want to talk about this and asked, Uncle, Aunt, how is it? She can't leave for too long. We didn't find any news. Su Lunyan said. I'm worried that the Yang family will deal with her when we're not around. The Yang family doesn't seem to be too happy with her. No one greeted her. Su Yu saw that no one paid attention to her, so he thought of coming over to talk to her. She's gone back. Let's go back too. Sima Yue didn't actually go back. After she left the banquet hall, she was targeted. She walked and stopped for a while before turning into a small alley. The people following her followed, but when they entered the alley, they found that the scenery in front of them had completely changed. Oh no! Those people looked at the vast wilderness and their faces changed. This should be an alley, but the wilderness appeared, which meant that they were hallucinating. Could it be an illusion? It's an illusion array. Someone said with certainty. How can it be? How long has she been here? How could she have set up an illusion array? They had been monitoring her for the past 2 days. She had never been here, so it was impossible for her to have set up an illusion array in advance. But how could she not know about an illusion array in 10 minutes? I don't know if she's in this array. Just as he finished speaking, Sima Yue appeared on the hill in front of them. Are you asking me? Sima Yue smiled at them. She appeared whenever she wanted, which made everyone's heart sink. This meant that she had absolute control over this illusion array. Who sent you here? Let me guess, the Yang family? Sima Yue looked at their expressions. Seems like I guessed wrong. That must be Dan Yushi. Other than Dan Yushi, she did not have any enemies here. The Dan family should be the one who sent people to kill her. I heard that Dan Yushi is unruly, arrogant and despotic. I thought that the incident last time was over, but I didn't expect her to not be waiting for me here. Sima Yue sneered. But it's a pity that you won't be able to complete her mission today. Sima Yue sneered. Her smile sent chills down their spines. Half an hour later, Sima Yue walked out of the alley. There was no one following her. Not long after, someone entered the alley and saw a few corpses on the ground. On the second day after the banquet, the results of the competition were out. Sima Yue's panacea was undoubtedly the first. Soon, a stone statue was delivered to He Zhenjiang. Yue, this is for you. He Zhenjiang waited for those people to leave before bringing the stone statue to Sima Yue's house. Sima Yue hesitated for a moment before accepting the stone statue. This was the reward for her panacea. Even He Zhenjiang and the others would find it strange if she did not accept it. After a while, the manager of the Xianyuan Pavilion came to the inn and personally brought the list of names for the auction. You can ask the waiter to bring it over. You didn't have to come here personally. Sima Yue smiled as she kept the list. It's my duty. The manager smiled. The higher-ups heard that you brought a panacea to the auction and sent 2 more supreme-level experts over. Thank you for your trouble. We will do our best to spread the news in the next 6 months. If you need anything, please let us know. If possible, can you reserve a room for me? There will definitely be a room for you. That's good. Sima Yue smiled. This auction would definitely be very lively. She wanted to invite her family members to come and watch. Those who read Crazy Wife, 5th Miss Miracle Doctor also liked it. Chapter 1555. The Great Meeting was held very smoothly. Although there were some people who were forced to sell the ancient spirit herbs to the Yang family in the end, they also received generous rewards. It wasn't too much of a loss. If it was in the past, the participants would have left one after another after the competition ended. But this time not many people left. Many people had received invitations from the Xianyuan Pavilion. Other than the grand finale of the event, there were also many immemorial spiritual herbs and spiritual artifacts. In the past, if the quality of the auctioned items was not high enough, the Xianyuan Pavilion would still take out their own items as the finale. This time, there was no need for that at all. Just the saintly medicine alone was enough. Not only did the major powers in Ji City receive this message, even the major powers in the other prefectures received it. It could be said that the invitations this time were mainly from the first-rate forces in the inner region. Even the weakest ones were from the second-rate forces. People like the Sima family were not qualified to participate in such a high-level auction. However, the Sima family still received an invitation from the Xianyuan Pavilion and a letter from Sima Yue. In the letter, Sima Yue mentioned some of the things that happened when she went out this time. She also mentioned that the sacred medicine was being auctioned. If the family was willing, they could go and take a look. When Sima Zhiyuan and the others knew that Sima Yue had opened a saint medicine and wanted to auction it off, they beat their chests and stomped their feet in frustration. However, what was done could not be undone. They did not have the confidence to go against the entire continent, so they could only accept this reality. After accepting reality, he gathered the elders of the family and discussed whether there was anything on the auction list that the family needed. If there was, they would prepare to raise money and participate in the auction. After Sima Yue gave the letter to the people of the Xianyuan Pavilion, she rarely went out. However, even so, she was assassinated several times. Dan Yushi was very depressed. Every time she sent out more people than the last time, the end result was the same. They were all annihilated. This made her hate Sima Yue even more. At night, Sima Yue walked out of the inn and avoided the people on the street. She made many turns and arrived at a courtyard of the Yang family. Little Lucky, if you go in and make any noise, I will throw you into the spirit pagoda and forbid you from coming out. She threatened Little Lucky. Xiaoxi originally wanted to go in and kill the Yang family members to avenge Sima Yue. However, when he heard what she said, he was stunned and nodded reluctantly. Sima Yue then brought it into the Yang family. Following the route that the Scarlet Bees had found out, they headed straight for Dan Yushi's residence. Although she didn't put Dan Yushi in her eyes, her temper had flared up after the repeated assassination attempts. Sending out the Scarlet Bees to scout ahead of time, it was easy for him to find out where she lived. At this time, Dan Yushi was throwing a tantrum in the house. The assassins that were sent tonight were all wiped out. What a bunch of useless trash. That Sima Yue is only a monarch. I sent so many assassins but none of them came back. With that, she smashed the table beside her. The other maids didn't even dare to breathe loudly, afraid that they would be implicated. Only her personal maid was braver and advised, "Young miss, don't be angry. We underestimated her the previous few times. Luckily, she won't be leaving G City during this period of time. When Old Master and the rest come to participate in the auction, we will send some experts over. We will definitely be able to kill her." Thinking that she still has to live for a few more months, my heart feels worse than burning, Dan Yushi said hatefully. Bang! The people in the house were talking when the door was suddenly slammed open. A figure flew in from outside and landed heavily in front of Dan Yushi. Who is it? The maids quickly stood in front of Dan Yushi. It wasn't that they wanted to protect her, but if she died, they wouldn't be able to live anymore. Sima Yue brought Little Lucky in from outside. She was very satisfied with Little Lucky's battle prowess. Why is it you? Dan Yushi saw her and cried out in surprise. Why can't it be me? Sima Yue laughed coldly. You can send people to kill me, so why can't I come and find you? What do you want to do? Dan Yushi saw the guards lying on the ground and knew that Sima Yue didn't come with good intentions. She didn't know if the clan's patrols would have noticed this place with such a huge commotion. Don't worry, no one will come to save you. The people outside won't be able to hear the commotion here, Sima Yue said calmly. Seeing the fear in her eyes, Sima Yue felt pretty good. How is that possible? What did you do? Dan Yushi cried out, but in her heart, she believed Sima Yue's words. She had beaten up all the guards in the courtyard. With such a huge commotion, if the patrols wanted to notice this place, they would have already come. Until now, no one had come, which meant that no one outside had noticed this place. It's nothing much, I just set up a barrier when I came in. It just so happens that I've learned this quite well. So, just scream as much as you want, no one will be able to hear you anyway. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she teleported and avoided the maids in front of her. She came in front of Dan Yushi and reached out her hand to strangle her neck. Young mistress! Let go of young mistress! The maids in the house all screamed. Hua Hua, didn't you say that you haven't eaten meat for a long time? Sima Yue didn't care about the people in the house and called Hua Hua out. Then she pulled Xiaoxi down and threw him over. Then she turned her head and looked at Dan Yushi. You can't kill me. Dan Yushi saw the murderous look in Sima Yue's eyes and felt terrified for the first time. When you sent people to kill me, did you ever think that you would be killed by someone else one day? Sima Yue laughed coldly. She didn't waste any more words and used her strength to break Dan Yushi's neck. TSK, she used too much strength in her hands. What a waste of food. After Hua Hua ate those people, she looked at the corpses on the ground and smacked her lips twice. She was picky now and didn't eat corpses. She only liked to eat living people. So when she looked at the corpses on the ground, she didn't have any desire at all. If she doesn't stay here, how will others know that she's dead? Sima Yue said lightly. Let's go, someone will come in a while. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she put away Hua Hua and left the courtyard with Xiaoxi. Without the barrier, the smell of blood quickly alerted the patrolling guards. When they arrived, they saw the courtyard full of blood and Dan Yushi in the house. Go and inform the master that the young mistress has been killed. The guard ordered the people behind him. Thinking about the young mistress who was coming back soon, he couldn't help but have a headache. Sima Yue left Dan Yushi's courtyard. She wanted to leave as soon as possible, but in order to avoid the Yang family's guards, she went around in circles. Not only did she not leave, but she also went further and further away from where she came in. At this moment, she felt a gust of death coming in her direction and subconsciously hit her aura. Chapter 1556. She hid her body behind the rockery and watched as a group of people walked in from the other side of the courtyard. Boss, where are we sending these guys? Don't worry so much, just follow him. What if we are seen walking in this courtyard? This road is forbidden by the family. If those people dare to come here, we can only turn them into these guys. Boss, you're really amazing. Even so many corpses listen to you. These aren't considered corpses yet. You have to go to that place and soak in enough blood before you can be considered a true corpse. The one who was called Boss said. Boss, aren't you afraid of dealing with these corpses? The thought of them being corpses gives me goosebumps. You talk so much nonsense. Take them and leave. Take them there, and we can rest for a while. Hearing their words, Sima Yue pondered for a moment before entering the spirit pagoda. After a few seconds, she came out wearing the same clothes as the corpses, and her body was emitting the aura of death. She watched as the corpses passed in front of her, and then silently followed to the back of the group. Since the massacre in the city, the Yang family had been relatively peaceful recently, so He Zhenjiang didn't make any further progress during this time. On the day of the banquet, he and Su Lunyan used the banquet as an opportunity to enter the Yang family, but they didn't gain anything. He didn't expect to encounter these corpses when he came in to kill someone. According to the words of those people, these could only be considered semi-finished products, not real corpses. If he followed them, he might be able to find out something. As for little Lucky, whether he was willing or not, she had left him in the spirit pagoda. There were probably hundreds of corpses here, so the two people in front of her didn't notice her presence at all. Sima Yue followed them, and came to a courtyard that didn't look any different. The person in front took out something and patted his body. Then he took the lead and walked in. The corpses behind him followed suit. Sima Yue walked over, and saw the enchantment outside the courtyard. She was a little worried that she would be discovered. However, when she saw the corpses entering the courtyard, she also stepped over it. There was no obstruction at all. Only people with death aura can enter this enchantment. The aura of death on those two people should be death aura, Sima Yue guessed. Although she came in safely, she was still surprised by the scene in front of her. She had clearly entered a courtyard, but why was it that after passing through a barrier, she felt as if she had entered a boundless mountain? There's a sense of space here. Little Spirit was more sensitive to these things. As soon as he came in, he felt that something was wrong. A sense of space, could it be a small world? Sima Yue was a little surprised. No wonder Uncle He and the others couldn't find anything after investigating the Yang family. It turns out that they didn't leave the corpses outside at all. They left them in the little realm. No matter how they investigated, they couldn't find any direct connection. If she hadn't accidentally bumped into these people this time, she was afraid that she wouldn't have been able to find anything no matter how long she investigated. The two men brought the corpses to the foot of a mountain. At the foot of the mountain sat a black-clothed man. His attire was no different from the corpses. He sat on a large rock, and when he saw the corpses walking over, he frowned and said unhappily, "Didn't I say that you're not allowed to make corpses outside? Why did you bring these back? These resources are not bad, but we can't leave them. So we can only make them like this. Now is a crucial time. If we lure those people to the family, it will be troublesome. Why are you still so ignorant? No matter how important these corpses are, they are not as important as the safety of the family. Yes, this is the last time. Send them to the blood pool." Yes. The group started to walk again. Sima Yue followed behind them, because they wanted to go up the mountain. She didn't expect that person to bring them to a cave at the foot of the mountain. The cave was very dark. It was probably because the corpses didn't need to see anything. The two men in front took out their night pearls to light up the path. They could barely see the path ahead. Sima Yue followed and walked all the way down. When they reached the bottom, the smell of blood assailed their nostrils. After walking for a while, she finally understood why the smell of blood was so strong. It was a pool bigger than a football field. It was filled with human blood. Go down. If you soak here for 49 days, you will become real corpses. After that person finished speaking, he didn't know if the corpses understood him. One by one, they walked into the blood pool. Sima Yue followed behind. After hesitating for a few seconds, she walked to a place a little further away and obediently went into the pool, letting the fresh blood cover her head. Let's go out. Footsteps could be heard above her head. The two men gradually walked further away. Sima Yue waited for a while. After confirming that there was no one above, she flashed into the spirit pagoda. When the people in the spirit pagoda saw her covered in blood, they were shocked. Yu, are you injured? No, this is the blood from the blood pool. It's not mine. Little spirit, I want to take a bath. After half an hour, she finally cleaned herself up. Yu, what is that blood pool? How did it make you like this? Little Roar asked with a look of disgust. Sima Yue took him out from Huahua's arms and held him in her arms. As she did so, she said, this blood pool is a place to refine corpses. However, I still don't know how it is formed. Following that, she told her beasts about how she followed the corpses into the little realm. So you're saying that this is the place to create corpses? Those corpses were created here? I can't be sure about this. However, from their previous conversation, those corpses need to be soaked in the blood pool to become corpses. Sima Yue stroked her chin. She really didn't know how those people did it. Yu, I feel that what you need to think about now is not how to create corpses, but how to get out. Thousand Resonance reminded her. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, he explained. Since this is the place to create corpses, would there be people guarding this place? How many corpses are there? If you go out like this and get discovered, what will happen? You can't use the scarlet bees to scout for information here. You don't know anything. Why did you follow them in so impulsively? I also know that it's not appropriate to come in like this. However, Uncle He and the rest couldn't find anything after investigating for so long. Now that I finally found it, I wanted to come in and take a look. If I encounter any danger, I can use the teleportation array to leave or something. Who knew that these people would be so generous to use a little realm to do all this? Sima Yue was also speechless. However, since we're already here, let's investigate properly first. Chapter 1557. Sima Yue changed into another set of black clothes in the spirit pagoda. When she appeared again, a faint ghost aura lingered around her, blocking the blood water. These corpses hadn't turned into corpses yet, so they couldn't sense spiritual energy. They didn't notice that someone was different from them. When she reached the shore, her clothes were still dry, without a single drop of blood on them. However, she noticed that there was less blood than before. Although it was only a slight difference and couldn't be seen with the naked eye, she could sense it with her divine sense. She looked at the corpses. The aura of death was heavier than when she first came down. She guessed that the blood had been absorbed by them. How bloody! She sighed in her heart. Who knew how many lives had been used to accumulate so much blood? She observed for a moment, and found that other than the tunnel they came in from, there were 3 other tunnels that led in the opposite direction. He didn't know where these 3 passageways would lead to, and whether there would be any danger inside. At this time, she realized that she had relied too much on the scarlet bees in the past. She liked to let them investigate everything first. Now that she couldn't use them, she seemed to have her hands tied. It seemed that he would have to change this habit in the future. She took 2 deep breaths, and chose the path on the side. She didn't know where the tunnel led to, but she could feel that the path was heading upwards. As expected, it didn't take long before they left the underground and arrived at the valley. Before leaving the cave, she first used her divine sense to check the surroundings. After confirming that there was no life force outside, she carefully walked out. There are so many corpses here. Sima Yu was a little surprised. As far as the eye could see, the whole valley was covered in black. They were all corpses wearing black clothes and black cloaks. With a sweep of her divine sense, she estimated that there were at least a few thousand corpses here. She thought for a moment, and with a thought, she ran towards the corpses. But before he could touch her, he disappeared. By the time she returned, all the corpses in the valley had already been stored in her spirit pagoda. Little Roar and the others did not like these undead, and wanted to kill them the moment they entered. However, they were stopped by Sima Yue. She said that she wanted to keep it for research. Maybe she could get something out of it. After harvesting the corpses in this valley, Sima Yue felt that there might be corpses in the other two routes as well. Thus, she went back to the blood pool and went to the other two paths. Just as she thought, the other two paths also led to the valley, and there were thousands of corpses in the valley. The total number of corpses in the three valleys was estimated to be close to 10,000. Sima Yue did not look too good after a round of looting. There were so many corpses, and the weak ones weren't even qualified to be made into corpses. If these 10,000 corpses were taken out, it would be a very powerful force. Moreover, her intuition told her that there were not all the corpses here. No wonder these guys dared to be so brazen, even doing something like massacring a city. After returning to the blood pool, Sima Yue finally calmed down. Since the Yang clan had prepared so many corpses, they were definitely planning something big. It was a pity that he didn't know what they were planning. However, according to the rules of survival in this mainland, it was nothing more than destroying other people's forces, or snatching their resources to strengthen themselves. The amount of blood in the blood pool was less than when she left. After 49 days, all the blood would have been absorbed. Thinking of the many corpses in the spirit pagoda, the blood pool must have been filled with countless people's blood. Sensing that someone was coming, she quickly entered the spirit pagoda to check on the situation outside. Humans and corpses were different. They were still corpses and would not notice her presence. However, if she continued to stay in the blood pool and used her spiritual energy to block the blood, she would definitely be discovered. Boss, it seems that the corpses have been absorbing quite well these 2 days. I still have to check on them every 2 days. Just in case. The two of them left after checking for a while. Sima Yue then came out of the spirit pagoda. With so many corpses gone, it would definitely be discovered very soon, and it would cause a commotion. If the little realm was closed, she wouldn't be able to leave. She didn't have Wu Lingyu's ability to tear space apart. Thinking of this, she felt that she couldn't wait any longer. What if she couldn't wait any longer? Hence, when those people came down for the second time, she made her move. She sprinkled poison at the entrance of the passageway. The two of them fainted the moment they came in. Sima Yue kept her ghost energy and killed the one she called boss. Before he died, she searched his mind and found out about his past. The man in black beside her was shaken awake. When he opened his eyes, he saw his boss looking at him anxiously. "Wake up, something happened," Sima Yue said anxiously when she saw him open his eyes. "Boss, what happened?" He had just woken up and was still a little dizzy. "Something happened to the blood pool. The blood is gone." Sima Yue pointed at the dried-up blood pool. There were only corpses left in it. Seeing the empty blood pool, the man immediately woke up and shouted, "Boss, how did this happen?" "I don't know either," Sima Yue said. "When we came in just now, we were ambushed, right? I think this place was tampered with." "How is that possible? This is a small realm. How can an ordinary person come in?" "I'm puzzled too. When I woke up, I went to the valley in front to take a look. The corpses were all gone," Sima Yue said. She was still puzzled as to why there was no one guarding this place. Later, she thought that this was a small realm. An ordinary person would not be able to come in at all. Hence, there was no need to send someone to guard this place. "God!" the man shouted. "If something happens, thinking of the punishment he would face, the man immediately collapsed onto the ground. "You don't have to sit here. Let's hurry out and inform Steward he." After saying that, Sima Yue dragged the man on the ground and ran out. When they arrived at the entrance of the cave, the The person guarding outside was still the same person. It was Steward He whom she knew from her memory. Steward He, not good. Dead bodies. The two of them ran too fast and could not speak fluently. Steward He saw them and his body trembled. What happened to the dead bodies? Sima Yue took 2 deep breaths and said, the corpses in the valley are all gone. The blood in the blood pool is also gone. What? Steward He stood up from the rock and was about to rush in. You follow Steward He in. I'll go and tell the patriarch this news. Sima Yue pushed that person into the cave, then flew towards the entrance. Chapter 1558. After leaving the little realm, Sima Yue let out a long sigh of relief. She originally wanted to go out directly, but after a change of heart, she changed her direction. Not long after, the Yang family patriarch and a group of elders found out about the loss of the undead. The person who went to report was directly killed by Yang Wei with a palm strike. When Sima Yue heard the news, she was already outside the Yang clan. This news was told to her by the scarlet bees that were left in the Yang clan. Fortunately, she was quick-witted and did not report the news herself. Instead, she sent a guard in. Although the other party was unwilling, it seemed that the people who came out of the little world all had relatively high statuses, so he could only obediently go. When she returned to the inn and walked in, she saw Su Lunyan running down the stairs to Sima Yue. Seeing that Sima Yue was safe, Su Lunyan was relieved. You little girl, where did you run off to? I haven't seen you for so many days. I was so worried. Seeing that she was fine, Su Lunyan started to scold her. Auntie He, I'm fine. I have something to tell you and Uncle He. Sima Yue lowered her voice as she held Su Lunyan's hand and went upstairs. Looking at Sima Yue's mysterious look, Su Lunyan swallowed her words and brought her into her house. I'm back. He Zhenjiang also knew that Sima Yue had returned. They hadn't seen her for a few days, so they didn't investigate the Yang family anymore. Instead, they searched the entire city for her. Fortunately, Enlei kept reassuring them that Sima Yue was fine, so they were not that worried. Yue, I'm sorry to have made Uncle and Auntie He worried for the past few days. Sima Yue was genuinely apologetic. It's good that you're all right. Su Lunyan patted her head. But don't run out without saying goodbye next time. I understand. All right. You said that you have something to tell us. What's the matter? Su Lunyan asked. It's like this. Sima Yue told him about her experience in the Yang family. In the end, she hid the fact that the corpses were missing, and only said that she saw some corpses. I didn't expect it to be placed in the little world. No wonder we couldn't find anything when we came here. He Zhenjiang slammed his palm on the table. Fortunately, he controlled his strength and didn't break the table. Only those with the aura of death can enter that little realm. That's why the people Uncle He sent didn't find anything. Don't be angry. Sima Yue comforted. This time, if she hadn't coincidentally used her ghost chi to follow those corpses in, she probably wouldn't have been able to find that place. If that's the case, I'm afraid we can't expose the relationship between the Yang family and the undead here. Su Lunyan was a little disappointed. As long as the Yang clan and the undead do something, it's still possible. However, the possibility of that happening in G City wasn't high. Since that was the case, he might as well redeploy his forces and wait for the auction in a few months. For the next few months, the Yang family was unusually quiet. Other than those who went out to do business or socialize, the people in the residence rarely came out. However, there weren't any other movements. If she didn't know that they had lost so many undead, she would have thought that nothing had happened in the Yang family. Thinking about those undead, Sima Yue returned to her room and went to the spirit pagoda. In the spirit pagoda, the beasties were surrounding those undead and studying them. However, after studying for a while, they still didn't know how to make these undead move. Seems like we need to have a way to control them. Sima Yue gave up after studying for a while. She used all the underworld skills that she had learned when she first started, but no matter what she did, these undead didn't move at all. Yu, when the time comes, let's capture a few people and ask them to tell us how to control them. Little Seven didn't have a good impression of these undead. Seeing that Sima Yue was so interested, she pouted and said, "That's the only way." Sima Yue said, "If not, we can only go to the ghost realm and ask them if they have any other methods." However, what she didn't know was that even in the ghost realm, this method of directly controlling the undead was called sorcery. If people knew about it, they would be attacked together. Hence, her idea of using these undead was most likely going to be foiled. In the following days, Sima Yue didn't go out and simply went into seclusion. As for the He family, because they knew that it was useless to investigate further, they didn't plan to go out either. However, sometimes they would still go out early and return late. It seemed like they hadn't completely given up. Sima Yue went into seclusion in the spirit pagoda. If there was anyone, little spirit would remind her. Hence, no one knew that she wasn't in her room for the past few months. It wasn't until a month before the auction, when there were more and more people in the city, that she ended her seclusion and changed to reading in her room. Later, she heard from Enlay that a few days ago, the Dan family came to find trouble with Sima Yue. However, they were stopped by He Zhenjiang and the rest. "This Dan Yushi is dead in the Yang family. Why don't you go find the Yang family? Why are you looking for my little girl? Are you bullying her because she doesn't have anyone to rely on? The people from Xianyuan Pavilion have to worship her. Don't you dare touch her?" Su Lunyan's words were very effective. Everyone in Ji City knew about Xianyuan Pavilion's attitude toward Sima Yue. Other than her, no one else's invitation was personally sent out by the steward. Knowing that the He family was the one auctioning the sacred medicine, the Dan family didn't go against them and left dejectedly. After hearing this, Sima Yue sneered and said, "These people only know how to bully the weak. Dan Yushi died in the Yang family. They can't catch the murderer, so they can only find me, someone who has a grudge with her, to settle the score." Although she was indeed the murderer, in the eyes of outsiders, no one would associate her with the murderer. The Dan family did this because they were looking for a weak person to vent their anger on. Enlay had seen this in the Donglai family, and knew that this was the deep-rooted bad habit of people. She didn't say anything. After a few days, the people from the Sima family came. Sima Yue saw that other than her great-grandfather and grandparents, even Sima Qing was here. "Old ancestor, why are you not at home? Why are you here? It won't be chaotic." Sima Qing glanced at her and sighed in his heart. She was just a little girl, but she was now affecting the entire family. Anything she did was enough to make them shudder with fear and trepidation. "Child, you did well this time. In a situation where you don't have the ability, you must protect yourself first before thinking about those things." Huang Yingying touched Sima Yue's head and lectured her. "I know, Granny. You must be tired. Rest first. I'll bring you around the city later," Sima Yue said with a smile. Okay. Sima Yue sent them to their rooms. When she returned, she realized that there was another person in the house. She narrowed her eyes and looked at the person cautiously. "Who are you?" Chapter 1559. Recommended reading. The person in the room was dressed in white. She looked delicate and weak, even more so than a gigolo. At this moment, he was holding a teacup and drinking tea leisurely. He had suddenly appeared, yet none of them had noticed him. If someone who was stronger than the old ancestor wanted to do something, would he be able to escape? Sima Yue looked at him cautiously. If he wanted to do something, she would go in even if she had to expose her spirit pagoda. "Little girl, there's no need to be so nervous. If I wanted to do anything to you, you would be a corpse by now." The man smiled. Sima Yue did not let her guard down and asked again, "Who are you? Ruyan didn't say you were so vigilant." The man in white looked her up and down. "I heard that you're very close to her the moment you see her. Why are you so resistant when you see me?" Sima Yue frowned. "Aunt Feng?" From the looks of it, he seemed to be very familiar with Aunt Feng. "My name is Feng Qing, your Aunt Feng's doctor." Feng Qing revealed her identity. "How did you figure out the acupuncture treatment method?" Sima Yue finally believed his words. She did give the silver needle technique to Aunt Feng's maid. She believed that other than Aunt Feng's doctor, no one else would know about this. Knowing that he wasn't here to hurt her, her heart finally calmed down. She replied, I saw it in an ancient book. Which ancient book? I forgot. Sima Yue made it up. There was no real ancient book. When Feng Qing saw her like this, he knew that she was lying to him. How is Aunt Feng now? Sima Yue asked. It wasn't very good at first, but with your silver needle technique, it didn't continue to worsen. She can't leave over there. Otherwise, I would have let her come over to find you, Feng Qing said. Sima Yue didn't know where he was talking about, but the person who came last time said the same thing. It seemed that Aunt Feng was really busy recently. Hearing that Feng Ruyan wasn't good, she was a little worried. Since Aunt Feng isn't doing well, why aren't you guarding her? What are you doing here? Of course I'm here for something. For the primordial sacred medicine? Sima Yue guessed. How smart. Sima Yue rolled her eyes in her heart. If he wasn't here for the sacred elixir, what else could he be here for? But the ancient sacred medicine can't cure Aunt Feng's injuries. It can't be cured, but it can be suppressed. Sima Yue felt that something was wrong. What's wrong with Aunt Feng? Did he use spiritual power? When Feng Qing saw Sima Yue staring at him, he sighed and said, I moved twice. If it weren't for the silver needle technique that you sent over, I'm afraid that he would have been dead by now. Aunt Feng. Sima Yue couldn't say anything to reprimand Feng Ruyan. Feng Ruyan knew that she couldn't use her spiritual energy, and if it wasn't a special situation, why would she do that? When Feng Qing saw that Sima Yue was truly worried for Feng Ruyan, he thought that Sima Yue was indeed the girl that she fancied. She didn't dote on her for nothing. Don't worry too much. As long as we get the ancient sacred medicine, the effects won't be much worse than the divine medicine. Her body should be able to recover by 30 to 40%. He said it casually, but he was worried in his heart. Although the sacred medicine was good, it wasn't a divine medicine. Also, ordinary divine medicines were useless to her. Only the divine scar could. However, with the abilities of the Feng people, they couldn't find it after so many years. It was most likely gone. If we have the divine scar, can she be completely cured? Feng Qing should have told Feng Ruyan that she was looking for the divine scar. There's a 70 to 80% chance. Sima Yue clenched her fist. What if we add the Eye of Earth? 80%. What if we add the Tree of Life? If we have these three things, I can definitely cure her, Feng Qing said with certainty. But these three things are extinct in the continent. Sima Yue thought for a while and said, Don't bid for the sacred medicine, bring me to Aunt Feng. Feng Qing looked at Sima Yue and saw that her expression was firm, as if she had made a decision. You have all three of these things? He even forgot to breathe. Yeah, Sima Yue said. I got them by chance. I wanted to treat Aunt Feng when I saw her, but she never came to find me. I don't know how to find her. Previously, she wanted to contact Feng Ruyan through the soul imprint in her sea of consciousness, but she suddenly found that Feng Ruyan had broken the connection. She thought that it was when she was seriously injured. Feng Qing was also excited. If she really had these things, then Feng Ruyan could be saved. Then he calmed down and said, Let's wait for the auction to end before going. With the ancient sacred medicine, the effect will be better. I've also prepared an ancient sacred medicine for Aunt Feng. The one that was auctioned is not very useful for her, Sima Yue said. You also prepared the ancient sacred medicine? Yeah. Sima Yue nodded. After she opened the sacred medicine, she found that one of them was useful for Feng Ruyan and kept it. Then let's go now. Feng Qing grabbed her hand. Wait for a while, I have to tell my grandfather and the others, Sima Yue said. Then let's go together. Sima Zhiyuan and the others saw Feng Qing and became alert. There was one more person in the inn, and they did not notice it. Sima Yue told them that she was leaving and told them not to bid for the sacred medicine. As for the rest, they could bid for whatever they saw. They did not have to worry about money. At most, they could use the sacred medicine's money to pay for it. Anyway, those things would definitely not be more valuable than the sacred medicine. Then when can you come back? Huang Yingying was a little worried. I should be able to come back before the agreed time with Xian Qiuhe. Sima Yue said. If I can't come back on time, when Xian Qiuhe sends someone to pick me up, tell him that I have something to do and will look for him later. Okay. Sima Yue was afraid that they would not listen to her and bid for the sacred medicine, pushing the Sima family into the teeth of the storm. She called Sima Qing to one side and took out an ancient sacred medicine, saying, "This is also from the ore. The one that was auctioned is much worse than this one." Sima Qing understood Sima Yue's meaning and nodded. He understood what she meant. Since they had one in their family, they would not be so desperate for the one that was auctioned. Be careful. Sima Qing glanced at Feng Qing. Although he was worried, he could not change Yue's decision. Little girl, hurry up. Feng Qing urged. Old ancestor, you still have to be careful of the Yang family and the undead. As for the details, you can ask Uncle He later. Sima Yue saw that Feng Qing was a little impatient and did not explain in detail and returned to his side. Feng Qing used a faint golden light to envelop Sima Yue, and the two of them disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Just based on this, the Sima family knew that the person who took away Sima Yue was not an ordinary person, and they were worried for her. Those who read Crazy Wife, Divine Doctor's Fifth Miss also liked it. Chapter 1560. Although the Sima family was worried, they understood that it was Sima Yue's decision, and they couldn't interfere with it. Thinking of what she said before she left, they went to find He Zhenjiang and asked about the Yang family's undead. They found out that Sima Yue had unintentionally ruined their plan. So the Yang family had been very careful recently. After knowing what Sima Yue had done here, Sima Zhiyuan and the others let out a long sigh. This little guy was not someone to be worry-free. Every time he came back, the things he did made them tremble in fear. If something happened to her in the Yang family, they would regret letting her out. Sima Yue followed Feng Qing. She knew that they had been traveling through space, but she did not know where they were, time and distance. When they came out of the space, Sima Yue was already lost. We're here already. Is Aunt Feng here? She was a little dizzy now. If Feng Qing hadn't grabbed her hand, she wouldn't have known where she was. This is the Feng people. Ru Yin is not here. I will send someone to call her back. Feng Qing said. When he arrived, he called out the spirit beast and let Sima Yue sit on it. Then, they flew towards the ancestral land. Sima Yue could feel that Feng Qing had a very high status among the Feng people. When the people on the ground saw his mount, no matter what they were doing, they would stop and salute him. Some of them would even come forward to greet him. She estimated that he was at least a clan elder. Sometimes, Feng Qing would also stop to deal with it. Your Honor, this is... Someone saw Sima Yue when he was bowing. This is Sima Yue. I will be staying with the clan for a while. The other party was very surprised and said, Your Honor, aren't the clan's rules not allowing outsiders to enter? You don't have to worry about that. Feng Qing's words silenced the other party. Then where should we arrange for her? I'll take her back. You don't have to worry about it. After Feng Qing finished speaking, he left with her. The news that Feng Qing brought an outsider into the clan quickly spread throughout the Feng people. Everyone was curious about who could make him disregard the clan rules. Everyone was even more curious when they found out that he had brought Sima Yue to Qingfeng Garden. However, no one dared to question his decision. If he said he didn't need anyone to interfere, no one dared to say no. It was mainly because of Feng Qing's status that even the clan leader could not control him. Sima Yue did not know which part of the mainland they were in, but she was smart enough not to ask. There were some things that she would naturally know if she should know, and there was no point in asking about things that she shouldn't know. However, the Feng people were really prosperous. Along the way, they flew past many residential areas. Feng Qing said that these were all her clansmen. Sima Yue pursed her lips. She didn't know if the Feng people were able to survive or what. There were so many of them that they could even attack a group of people in a fight. Feng Qing brought her to his courtyard. It was a little far from the residential areas, but the environment was not bad. The spiritual power was abundant, and it was the best place to cultivate. If he were to cultivate here, It was possible for him to cultivate for 7 or 8 days instead of 10 days a day. This showed his status in the Feng people. After staying here for a few days, she found out that this guy had not built such a good place for cultivation, but for his precious piece of land. Feng Qing randomly chose a courtyard for her and said, "You can stay here for now. I'll get someone to bring Ruyan back. Where do you want to go? I'll ask the medicine boy to take you there." After saying this, he disappeared from the courtyard. Mississippi, 2 medicine boys suddenly appeared behind her, giving her a fright. Sima Yue turned around and saw 2 boys around 7 or 8 years old. They looked exactly the same and were staring at her. The 2 children were very cute. They had chubby little faces and big round eyes. Those eyes reminded her of Little Tuesday. Ever since she was taken away from the dark forest, he never contacted her again. She didn't know if he was doing well in the clan. After so many years, what had he become? "Who are you?" She reached out her hand and touched the 2 children's heads. The child on the left frowned. With a cold face, he took a step back and let go of her hand. The other one didn't dodge. He looked at her with a smile and said, "We are His Honor's medicine boys. I'm Feng Feng, and he's Yuan Yuan. I'm the older brother, and he's the younger brother. His Honor asked us to bring you around the clan to prevent you from going to places that you shouldn't go." Yuan Yuan's temperament was colder, and even his voice was colder. Sima Yue was curious about the Feng people. However, she had something to do this time, so she didn't have much interest in sightseeing. "I'm a little tired now, and I want to rest for a while. I'll ask you to lead the way when I want to sightsee later. Is that okay?" "Okay. Then we'll go and tidy up the medicine garden. If you want to go out, you can call us from the back." Feng Feng smiled and said, "Are the 2 of you able to recognize medicinal herbs?" Sima Yue was a little curious. "Miss, although the 2 of us aren't tall, we are a few hundred years older than you. We can still tidy up the medicine garden," Feng Feng explained. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. A few hundred years old, medicine boy? She even treated them like dolls just now, and even touched their heads. It was all Feng Qing's fault for saying that they were medicine boys. She thought that they were only a few years old. "Then you 2 can go and do your work." After speaking, she turned around and returned to the house that Feng Qing designated for her. So embarrassing. Because of this, Sima Yue felt very embarrassed. Thus, she didn't go out and waited for Feng Ruyan in the house. She didn't know when Feng Ruyan would come back. Thus, she took out her medical book and started reading. Although Feng Feng and Yuan Yuan were tidying up the medicine garden at the back, every movement in the courtyard was under their control. Previously, the 2 of them thought that Sima Yue would ask them to go out for a walk after resting for a while. They didn't expect her to start reading after waking up. She didn't go out for more than 10 days. Isn't she curious about the Feng people? Feng Feng touched his chin and was a little surprised. Not everyone has such a strong curiosity. Yuan Yuan felt that Sima Yue's behavior wasn't strange. "Yuan Yuan, why do you think Master brought her back? Is it because he found a mistress for us?" Feng Feng thought of this and was a little excited. Yuan Yuan glanced at him calmly. "Didn't you feel a trace of the Feng people's aura on her? Master wouldn't find a mistress for us in the clan." "That's true." Feng Feng sighed. As his medicine boys, not only did they have to manage these herbs, they also had to worry about his life. It was tiring. Yuan Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up. He stared at the sky far away and said excitedly, "Lord is back." Sima Yue, who was in the room, also felt something. She opened the door and saw Feng Ruyan slowly appearing. Chapter 1561. Feng Ruyan was still so beautiful. The moment she stood in the courtyard, the entire courtyard seemed to come alive. "Aunt Feng." Sima Yue suddenly felt a little sour. Although she had not seen Feng Ruyan all these years, Feng Ruyan had helped her a lot. If it wasn't for Feng Ruyan's soul imprint in the dark forest, she would have been killed by Little Tu's clan. Later on, when she established her own sect, Feng Ruyan gave her a gift which improved her physique, and even gave her the aura of the Feng people. When she was outside, this was a layer of protection. She also remembered the matter of Xian Yuan Pavilion protecting her in her heart. Feng Ruyan smiled as she looked at Sima Yue. She was quite different from the last time they met. At that time, she was a young lady who had just come up from the lower continent. She was like a newborn calf who was not afraid of tigers. She rubbed Sima Yue's head and said, "You have grown up. Ruyan, let's go in." Feng Qing rarely saw Feng Ruyan being so emotional. Although he wanted to see more, treating her body was the most important thing now. Feng Ruyan held Sima Yue's hand and walked into the house. Feng Feng and Yuan Yuan bowed and shouted emotionally, "Lord, thank you for your hard work." Feng Ruyan nodded at the two of them. All these years, most of her medicine was organized by them. She remembered them. When Feng Feng and Yuan Yuan heard her words, they became even more emotional. Feng Qing walked over and slapped each of them. He scolded them for being useless and followed them in. Every time he saw Feng Ruyan, he would be like this. Embarrassing. Feng Feng and Yuan Yuan were not angry and followed him into the house. They did not expect to hear Feng Ruyan say, "Yue." Feng Qing said that you have God's scar, Tree of Life and Eye of Earth? The two of them were stunned and looked at Sima Yue subconsciously. Sima Yue nodded and said, "God's scar was given to me by my senior brother. Eye of Earth was obtained when I was in the academy. Tree of Life was obtained when I went to the immortal land." Do you know that these three items are treasures that everyone in the world fights for? If you keep it for yourself, you will definitely have great fortune in the future. Feng Ruyan looked at her. "I know, but I'm willing to use it to treat Aunt Feng." Sima Yue was not distressed at all. The divine scar was originally prepared by her for Feng Ruyan. As for the Tree of Life and the Eye of Earth, she had already discussed it with Qing Yi and Little Seven. She only gave them some, and it wouldn't affect them much. The two of them also agreed to give it to her. "There's also the primordial sacred medicine," Feng Qing said. "It'll be even better with this." Feng Ruyan also knew that Sima Yue had the immemorial sacred medicine. She said softly, "I didn't expect so many things to appear when the immemorial mining area appeared." Senior Feng Qing, when can we treat Aunt Feng? Sima Yue looked at Feng Qing. "You already call her Aunt Feng, so you can call me Uncle Feng. Otherwise I'll look really old." Feng Qing ridiculed and then said, "Ruyan just came back. I still have to do some conditioning for her. When her body is in its best condition, we can use the medicine." "Hurry up," Feng Ruyan said. "I know, it's just a few days." Feng Qing rolled his eyes and understood what she meant. "Then I'll leave it to you. Yue, stay at my place. I'll bring you around Feng people." Feng Ruyan brought Sima Yue and left. Feng Feng and Yuan Yuan came over and said, "Master, that Sima Yue really has the divine scar and the Tree of Life." Yes. Feng Qing didn't see it with his own eyes, but he knew about the relationship between Feng Ruyan and Sima Yue. So he believed that she wouldn't lie to him. Actually, he believed in Feng Ruyan. He believed in her judgment. Sima Yue followed Feng Ruyan to her courtyard. When they reached the door, they saw a group of maids welcoming them. "Lord, you're back. Yes, clean up the courtyard beside mine for Yue to stay," Feng Ruyan ordered. "Yes, Lord." The maids around Feng Ruyan all knew about Sima Yue. When they heard that she was arranged to stay beside Feng Ruyan, although they were surprised, they still cleaned up the house quickly. When Sima Yue entered, she sized up Feng Ruyan's courtyard. The courtyard was filled with all kinds of strange flowers and plants. Every piece of land was meticulously planned and complemented each other. It was like a fairyland. When Feng Ruyan stood inside, she was like a fairy in a painting. Sima Yue always felt that Feng Ruyan was beautiful, but her temperament made people feel comfortable. When she was with her, she felt relaxed. If the members of the Phoenix clan knew what she was thinking, they would definitely roll their eyes at her. Lord gave people a strong feeling. How was she as casual as she felt? Feng Ruyan brought Sima Yue to sunbathe in the flowers, just like the year they met. Feng Ruyan asked her about her experiences over the years, and she told her everything, including how she wanted to get the divine medicine. Divine medicine is hard to find, and you're going to use up 2 of them. Feng Ruyan didn't say that she couldn't get it. Instead, she believed that Yue would get it. I have no choice. That's my father. No matter what price I have to pay, I have to cure him, Sima Yue said. You're a good child. It's just the Xianqiu clan. If you can't handle it, I'll get someone to get it for you. Feng Ruyan's words were light, but her aura couldn't be ignored. Not now. I'll try first. If I really can't handle it, I might have to ask Aunt Feng to help me, Sima Yue said embarrassedly. I don't need to do anything. When the time comes, you just need to release the aura of the Feng people. They won't dare to do anything to you. Feng Ruyan said. Sima Yue was really shocked this time. She always thought that the Feng people were one of the hidden clans. At most, they were slightly stronger. But looking at Feng Ruyan's attitude, she didn't even put the Xianqiu clan in her eyes. Could it be that the Feng people were much stronger than the hidden clans? Seeing her shocked expression, Feng Ruyan smiled and said, Seems like you don't know the status of the Feng people. I really didn't ask. In the past, she was too weak and didn't know much about the background of the Feng people. Although she was still weak now, she still didn't know about the status of the Feng people. Do you know that in the ancient times, there was a clan called the God Clan? Sima Yue's breathing tightened. God Clan? Did they really exist in this world? In the past, the Ghost Clan, Human Clan and Demon Clan were still together. They were all ruled by the God Clan. Then the world changed and the God Clan disappeared. The Human Clan, Demon Clan and Ghost Clan separated and developed on their own. They became what they are now, Feng Ruyan muttered. Then the Feng people were the God Clan. That you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.